Hey everybody, we are on the 20th episode of the Irrelevant Podcast. I didn't really think we were going to get this far, but we're here. I'm joined once again by Jason.
Hello.
Yep, and I thought since it was the 20th episode, and it doesn't really mean anything, I would celebrate it by listening to Jewish music and talk about it on the podcast.
It's a big celebration.
So, yep, it's our Shabbat, even though it's not even Sabbath right now. But so I recommended to Jason this album called Our Siddur, and for those who don't know, Siddur in Hebrew means prayer book. So this is it's an album for Shabbat or Shabbos, and there's songs of praise. Some of them are actually psalms. So if you're Christian, a lot of these are actually these same psalms that you hear at mass, or if you're not Catholic, you might hear them in certain songs that you sing at your whatever your church service is. Yeah, and I think it's a really cool mix of music. There's lots of different, really interesting, like, blends of musical instruments and styles.
Yeah,
I don't know if
not
that's
expecting that.
right. I know, and it's really weird because this is Ashkenazi Jewish music, but a lot of it sounds like, well, okay, the actual pronunciation of it I think is Sephardic, but no, these are actually Ashkenazi Jewish songs, and a lot of these melodies, like I know Hashem Malach and Yedid Nefesh, those songs I believe, well, and I think all of them, but I know for a fact that those existed before the Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews even came to America, and those melodies were the same thing. But I'm pretty sure that goes for all of the other songs. But yeah, it's such an interesting mix of instrumentation, just musical ideas, and just, yeah. So what'd you think of it, man?
I keep clearing my throat for some fucking reason.
Hi. What the hell? Okay, let's start this podcast over, man.
What happened?
No, I'm just messing. I don't know.
I thought
Just
you fucked up something technical again.
no. It's fine. We're good to go.
Your intonation caught me off guard. Like
Yep.
the various styles of this album that you had me listen to. I mean, I enjoyed, but like, I think it's cool that like I can listen to music that I'm not usually accustomed to and enjoy aspects and songs of it. Going track by track, the first one, the Shamu, the Sham.
That's my favorite song. Yeah, Vishamur.
What does that mean?
It means, and they shall keep.
Okay. So yeah, I love the really slow pulsing rhythm on the drums in the background. I don't know if it was like a synth drum or some kind of weird kick or some bassy drum, but it sounded really nice. You know me,
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for the the catchy melodies with the wavering kind of Middle Eastern-y pitch. So I like the vibey feel of that one.
Yeah, that song, like I said, that's my favorite song on the entire album, and it's the first one.
Yeah, it's a great opener. I think if you're gonna have a good album, you have to have a great opener. Like you could have like a couple songs in the middle that are whatever, but as long as you have a good opener and a closer, then you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually learning how to play that song on the guitar, and I have it pretty much down. I'm just trying to simultaneously play it and sing it because that's a completely different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really love the D minor, and obviously what the song is talking about is just it. So the song title means, like I said, and they shall keep. It is talking about how the children of Israel will keep the Sabbath forever, and it will be the eternal sign between God and His people, basically. And at the end of the song, when he has that like thing where he's like kind of just going down after like the huge like epic chorus when he's just going like 9 that's talking about how like on the seventh day he rested. It's so poetic. I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's cool that I can connect with a lot of this and not even have any shred of context, which is nice. So I like that one a
Right.
lot. The second song, Shiru Lahashim, how the fuck? I didn't like this
Yeah.
one at all.
Do you know what that song means? You're
No.
probably gonna recognize it. It's "Sing to the Lord a New Song."
Okay.
You've
So,
never heard that like in a like one of your services or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
well,
I'm
that's what
just
I was
guessing.
gonna touch on. It sounded like I hate that like piercingly happy melody. Like I don't like those type of worship songs for that reason. So I think that's what just reminded me of. And it also simultaneously
Yeah.
sounds like something that would be like in a Lion King musical. Like it just tugged at my soul in the opposite
Weirdly
direction.
enough, I see what you're saying. I mean, obviously, it affects me differently, just because I don't know. It just reminds me of like you know my ancestors and like how they came here. But like I
Again,
know
I
like
don't
if you're
have
not
that context. I have to go back hear
right,
how it sounds.
right. But even so, like if I didn't have that, I don't really know how much this song would do it for me. I mean, it's still like it's a very like nice sounding song. And it's very happy. But I can see what you're saying, where you think it's like overly happy.
Yeah, and that's just a me thing, but like I hate that kind of style. And a lot of worship songs have that style, and I don't know, it just wanes on me. But the
Yeah,
one
that one
thing
sounded.
that the one thing that I couldn't really get over, and this is just because of my sense of humor, is like, and they didn't have this on too much of the songs, but just like the accentuated phlegm vowels, they just crack me up. I can't handle it.
Really?
I can't.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
can't. I'm too immature for this shit. Like it just every time I
I
hear
mean,
them, I
to
just crack
me,
up.
right? Like to me, they just sound. I don't know. Like to me, they sound cool. Like in Hashem Malach. Like yeah, but we'll get to that one in a second. But yeah. So
um,
Shiu La Hashem,
so
or
that one
well,
I
there
didn't like at
that's
all.
other
The next one,
right. Yeah.
Mizmor Shir, that one.
Hmm.
That one really caught me off guard. I mean, I liked it a lot. I like reggae, and the
Yeah, I
vocals were
know.
really catchy, and also just the different types of percussion instruments that they have in the background. I really like the sound of too, but it's weird. Like it's very repetitive, but I didn't it didn't bother me at all. I liked it a lot actually.
Yeah, and that's what was so. I think when you by the time you get to the third track, I think the listener is just like, "What is this album?" Because like but like in a good way, because sometimes that can come across as bad. It's like, what are they doing? But this, it's like I think you can kind of just get it for some reason. But at the same time, it's like the first song is like this super epic, like worldly sounding, like looking at the horizon kind of song, like
Yeah.
reflecting on everything in your life to open it up. And then the second song is like the most happiest thing you've like, ever heard in your life. And then the third one's like this like reggae, like chill song.
Yeah, and I don't mind
It's
that.
like
Like
what?
I like when like I don't know why that irritates some people. I guess like if they just want to listen to one style, but I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like I have a diverse enough musical palette that like when an artist likes to do different styles, I don't get mad. I like it. Also, like I
yeah.
don't want
I
the whole
mean,
thing to sound the same, especially if I'm not accustomed to it. So I like when people switch it up, so I can like, oh, this is actually something interesting. And I like the song a lot. I like reggae. I like things just to relax to. So that one was a good one. The next one, Hashem Malak. That one, it kind of sounded like the first song a little bit with its slow vibe. I didn't really connect to this one, even though it did sound nice. I think it's probably the language. Like if I knew what they were talking about, I don't. I mean, I don't know still if I was going to connect to it or not, based on just the themes of everything. But I think for this one, like it just kind of had me zoning out.
yeah. I don't know if you ever heard me sing that at the guitar store because I know how to play that one on the guitar.
I might have. I don't know. It
Um,
didn't sound familiar.
yeah, I forget what number psalm it is, but it's the psalm titled "The Lord is King." Like Hashem is God, and then well, Adonai is God, but you can't write down Adonai. That's forbidden. So, in when you write it down in the title for like Apple Music or Spotify, they just put Hashem. But so it means the Lord, and then Malach means king, so it means the Lord King. But
I,
there's no to be in Hebrew, so it's just it's assumed.
As a side note, we can get into this later after we do this album review. I don't understand why, not understand, but like, I just want to wonder where it comes from to, like, you're not allowed to portray Muhammad visually, or you can't, like you just said, like, write down that word. Like, I want to know, like, where that forbidden shit comes from. Like, who decided, like, you weren't supposed to do that?
Well, you said you want to talk about this later or now?
Well, if it's a simple answer, I'm curious, but if it's going to be a,
So it's essentially all it is essentially like God is so great and like magnificent and omnipotent, trying to trying to render him is like insulting to him because we could never possibly fathom that.
So why is saying it different than writing it? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's still portrayal. Like, I hear that word
No,
and I
but
associate it in my head like I would if I was reading it. Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
no, but the word Adonai, you cannot. Well, it doesn't apply to me because I'm not a practicing Jew. But you cannot refer to God as Adonai unless you're praying, and it specifically means the Lord. Like there, you know how there's multiple names of God. There's like Adonai, Hashem, Elohim, Yahweh, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So Adonai is used in those like prayer contexts, and so is Elohim. But if you're not praying, you can't say Elohim either. You have to say Elohim.
I see.
Why that is, and like who instituted that, I don't really know. Because in Christianity it doesn't apply. Because it's basically the idea that we are made in the image and likeness of God, and we do have this like godliness in us. You know, there is this intimate relationship we have with Him. That's why it's like it's permitted. But yeah, I mean, it still continues. You know, in Judaism today, and same with Islam. I mean, I
the fear of the unknown, the fucking Voldemort effect.
right, but do you think it's cool, or like what is your opinion about him? Yeah, like saying the name and also like depicting him in like an image. Like what do you think about that?
Are you talking about Voldemort or God?
Oh God, not Voldemort.
I mean, I think it's only cool in the context of like the mystery. Obviously, like you can believe if it has like real world consequences, right? So it's, or if it's just offensive, like I don't know, like I'm not practicing Muslim or Jew, so it's like it's not going to be offensive to me. But if someone was to get like, you know, touchy about it, I'd just be like, all right, whatever, fuck you. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I guess it's ominous. Like it has like this is. But again, every time you ban something, it just makes you want to do it. So I guarantee you there's probably a bunch of people that have a notebook filled with fucking Adonai in it just for the fuck. You know what I mean? Like it just invites unnecessary nonsense, I think, and it detracts from the message, honestly. So it's like you make people focus on silly stuff like that as opposed to actually doing what you're supposed to do. But I don't know. Stuff just kind of seems silly to me. Like it seems like it's shit that humans made for no fucking reason, and now it's a thing.
Well, I see. Well, to me, it doesn't seem silly, even though I do understand where you're coming from, because it does seem like it's just this like it's like why, you know, like who cares? But
well, the actual it does have a veil of like it's like I said, it's ominous. It's like ooh, this is like a, you know, it creates that aura around it of being a word, even though you can say it but you can't write it. You know what I mean? Like you can only do it during prayer, so it has that like sacredness to it, but it's just a word. Even if you have like whatever your intent is behind the word to make fun of it or praise it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it's the name of God.
But that's what I'm saying, is that context doesn't matter. It only matters in the context of you praying it and saying it but not writing it down, which is why I think it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still completely respect like Jews and Muslims in that respect, because I like how they never like they will never insult God, and I really do respect that, you know. And if to them not insulting God is to not say His name, then yeah.
Well, sure.
Go ahead.
I'm sure if you got a bunch of Muslims and Jews in the same room, they wouldn't feel the same way towards each other. But
well, they don't believe in the same God, but that's for another story.
It's more than not believing in the same God.
Well, I know, but oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that Hashem directly translates to the name.
The name.
The name. Well, it means God in more of like a general sense.
I see. Yeah.
In the way we understand it.
Gotcha. The next track, Mizmor LaDavid. I like the tempo on this one. I like the. It sucks that I wish I was more wordly with my percussion and just folk instruments in general, because it's very specific sounding things that like sound vaguely like other instruments that I'm familiar with, but just kind of not quite. So I can't tell what type of drums they are, but they sounded cool. And
yeah, neither do I.
One thing that I noticed on all these songs actually is the production is really, really well done. I like the whatever mics they use for the vocals and the way they mix the vocals, and then I like how, I don't know if you noticed, but they have a nice loads of layered harmonies on the vocals. They have a bunch of layered tracks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, like going back to the first track, Vishamru, I love that two voice harmony.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so pretty. But yeah, this track, Mizmor le David, which I think means like temple to David. I think
Mm-hmm.
like referring to King David. It's definitely it sounds the most like Eastern,
Yeah, it does.
and I love the use of the ode. And yeah, like you said, those drums. I don't know what they are, but just that rhythm, it's
It's
so
some like
catchy.
metallic bongo hand percussion thing. I think there's a lot of percussion where I think, oh, it sounds like some sort of metal drum or something. Like I don't know if it's a tabla, because tablas sound very specifically Indian, but it's something close to that. I don't quite know
Oh
what it
yeah,
is. It's probably some regional thing. I don't know.
yeah. Because I
Um,
showed this to one of my other friends, and they thought it was like Indian music.
yeah.
Yeah,
Everything sounds like Eastern, Middle Eastern Indian music until you really delve deep into what instruments they're playing, because then you look at them and physically see them, and then you can hear the subtle nuances between the actual tone of the instruments. So like the ode
sure.
sounds different from that Greek bouzouki, whatever the fuck that thing's. I forgot what it's called, but it's like
Whatever it's called, yeah. But I know what you're
yeah,
talking
there's
about.
different types of like very specific. It's mainly just the note scales are very similar. So that one was cool. The next one, Shalom Aleichem, whatever the fuck.
Shalom
Um,
Aleichem,
Aleichem.
which
Assalamu
means
alaikum.
peace to you.
Peace to you. This one
Yeah.
I couldn't really catch anything specific except for the phlegm thing. It still cracks me up.
I
So,
I liked the beat. It was groovy.
yeah, a little bit groovy on that one.
Yeah.
Next one, Hamavir. This one really caught me off guard. This it's like a
I know.
Jewish country bluegrass fucking.
Yeah, I was like, what
What
the
the
hell is
fuck?
this like? It was like a banjo. It
Yeah,
really like this like it really never ceases. This album never ceases to surprise you with the instruments and like the all of the blends it has and what it has to offer. Because like when you think of like country Jewish music, you're like, what the hell? But it works.
the only parallel that I could come up with, because like I was just like, what is happening? Is just like that, like how like Trump supports Israel, and a lot of Israeli people are more right leaning, so a lot of people in the South are right leaning, so it's like merging that influence of like rednecks trying to get into Jewish culture can listen to Jewish country.
Hey, I never thought about it that way.
So I kind of bridged those two parallels, and it was just fucking making me die. Oh man, this is how you get introduced to new cultures besides America. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, when I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Right.
It wasn't bad though. It was just like it just makes me laugh hearing country music spoken or sung in Hebrew. I don't know why.
I know.
The next one, Yedid Nefesh.
Oh
This
yeah.
one I love the slow and somber feel to it. They have this like reverberating synth that's in the background, and a lot of I don't know if you listen to like a lot of like meditation music or binaural beats or any of that kind of shit, but they always have this like ooh, this like
Yeah, that in the background. Yeah.
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 So that one,
It's good.
yeah, it kind of I know I recognize it because it might be like some specific like synth pack that you can download online just to put them on your fucking songs, but it was nice. I like, and again, they had some weird metallic drum that was cool, and then the vocals had a very smooth and cool kind of, as in tone, not in style, kind of sound to
Yeah.
them. So I like that track. Mizmor Shiru Lahashim, that one was good too.
Hashem, yeah.
The melody was kind of tedious. I don't know if that's because just the pronunciation of the words. But it had sort of like that kind of same feel good thing, but it wasn't as bad as the second one. So that one I could still listen
Was
to.
it? Is that the one? Because like I can't remember off the top of my head. Was that the one
It's
where
the
it
second
had
to
like
last one,
right, but it had the same melody as the second track, correct?
kind of. That's
What?
why I say it kind of had
Whereas
that
it, yeah,
same sort of feel to it. So, but the melody was a little bit tedious, but for some reason it didn't like totally
wasn't it
detract me
like
away
the
from it.
like it starts out and it's like the that one, right?
Something like that. Yeah, it was a lot of
Yeah,
words. It
yeah,
was a lot of word salad.
yeah. That was a word salad. That's probably like my least favorite one.
A
Even though
little
like
bit
I
jumbled.
do, yeah. I mean that's probably my least favorite one. I love the next and last one. Anna
So
Bechoch.
yeah,
That one
that
is great.
one I think was like the last surprise. I kind of figured something was coming because like they have an interesting song, then kind of like a whatever song, then another interesting song, then like a song. It says like I figured this one was gonna be something interesting, but I liked like the John Mayer guitar rhythms that they were doing in the background. That was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
That
Um,
it was so smooth and crisp.
yeah,
I really liked it. Yeah.
yeah, some kind
And
of gravity shit. But the vocals, I didn't really think mixed with this one too much.
really, well, okay, for me, I think it's like perfect. And I must confess, this song does make me cry quite a bit.
Really, because the message more or the sound more.
The sound, I think it's just epic.
Interesting.
Actually, let me see. I don't even know. Let me see what it means.
It's funny. I've kind of changed my mind because before I played guitar, I knew who John Mayer was, but like I just thought he was just like a regular pop guy that just girls like. So I was like whatever. And then the more I played guitar, I really didn't like get into his music anyway because I didn't like his songs at all. And he just came off as pretentious and just fucking like laid down frat boy. But the more that I play guitar, and I've actually started to learn to play Neon by John Mayer because it's a really hard finger picking song. So it's like I still don't like his songs. I think his songs are boring, but like his actual guitar playing is very good, and so
I
it
don't
takes me playing it
really.
to appreciate it.
I'm not really that familiar with him.
Like I said, his songs are whatever, but like if you like, I can send you a couple tracks. Like I said, Neon is a great example of, and not like the recorded version because the recorded version is I don't know. He was using an electric guitar and it just didn't fucking sound good, I guess. But then he plays that same thing on acoustic live, and the live version is 10 times better, and you can really hear what he's doing, and he kind of changes up the rhythm a little bit. But
Oh, is it really?
yeah, so like there's a lot of stuff where he's a fucking really good player and smart musical theoretician or however the fuck, but just makes boring songs to me.
Yeah, well,
But yeah,
I don't
but
really
that
know much
that
about him.
style in that last song really reminiscent of him.
It's looking like this means Ana Bechach means the blessing that can change reality. Huh, wow.
That's kind of a cool title.
Yeah. No, it's like it because these songs, like a lot of them, especially like the first track, and well, especially the first track, they really make me reflect on like the mysticism of like Judeo-Christian history, and like all of like the line of like the prophets and like the mystics and all that stuff. Like it's really cool.
What is the word? What do the lyrics mean?
Vishamru.
No, or I thought you were talking about the last one.
Oh no, I was just going back to the first one, but also
Oh,
I mean, some of these songs I think make me think more of like modern Judaism more, like with the Holocaust and how it was really sad. Especially like that last one. Like I know it has nothing to do with the Holocaust, but like it just evokes that sound, of like yeah, we went through a ton of we went through a ton of shtick, but like we're here now, and like
yeah.
and like I just love how he's just like the singer's just belting out the lyrics, how he's just so proud, you know. Um,
Yeah, I assume like anything like that's more intimate or at least just sadder sounding will kind of invoke that same. I mean, because it's thousands of years of historical pain, you know.
yeah, I mean they've exiled for I don't even remember how long, like 2000 almost.
Some shit. But
Right.
yeah, I think overall it was really interesting. Like I was even like I think this is a great way to space. Like they did a really good job. Like is this a compilation or is this like an album?
It's an album.
It's an okay. So I think they did a good job of like spacing out tracks. So it's like yeah, I mean the hard truth of being a musician or being in this industry is like you're gonna have filler tracks. You can't make every song be fucking phenomenal. It's just not
That is
possible.
true.
So
That
it's
is
like you're
true.
gonna have songs that like you're not quite proud of, but they don't sound bad. You're still giving it your attention. You're not just lazily making it, but like it's just not gonna have the same impact as other songs on your album. So if you're smart and do it like they did it, you put those songs in between the fucking interesting songs. Then the impact makes it harder as opposed to having them like all the way like you have like two good tracks in the beginning and then the rest of the album is kind of boring and then you have one good track at the end. You know what I mean? Like it's a good spacer the way they did it.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff, like a lot of albums tend to do that.
Yeah.
Like, but what was your favorite song on the whole thing?
Ooh, honestly, I think it's either the reggae song or let me see. Yeah, I think it's gonna either the first one I liked, but I usually don't want to pick the first song just for mental reasons.
I know what you mean.
You know, I like the reggae song, and I really like the last track, even though I didn't really like the vocals on the last track.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think because like those are the ones that stood out to me in the best way, and I like the catchiness of the reggae song too. Because there's a lot of reggae songs that just have the da, 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 and then whatever bullshit. It sounds the same as everything else, but it's the catchiness of your melody that really makes a good reggae song. It just makes you just space out.
Mismo, she. Yeah, it's a good melody.
So, and like I said, the fact that it was repetitive, it was still great.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, another one that really makes me reflect of like the mysticism of like the Judeo-Christian history is the fourth track, Hashem Malach.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's a sort of reflection on like God and how like the song's basically just it's just talking about how awesome God is and how he like deserves the highest praise and like the all of like the good shit. It's really cool.
Do you I used to know about this topic briefly. I kind of read like a Spark Note synopsis of it, but you're talking about like Jewish mysticism. Do you know anything about like the Kabbalah? I think it's what it's called. Kabbalah, some shit like that. You know what I'm talking about? Kabbalah, I think it's called.
I wouldn't know.
It's like some sort. I don't know if it's like a specific doctrine or like old archaic texts or not. It's basically like Gnostic, fucking Jewish doctrine, or it's like an ancient Jewish philosophies and mysticisms. But I can't remember what specifically it is, and I was trying to get back into it because I like that kind of stuff. But I don't know if you had any reference of it.
I mean, I can make an educated guess that was probably Jewish heresy that was like condemned by the prophets and not the prophets, sorry, the high priests at the time. But I that's just my educated guess. I don't know for sure.
I'll give you the Wikipedia version. So it's Kabbalah, Kabbalah.
Kabbalah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's literally a reception tradition or correspondence is an esoteric method, discipline, and school of thought in Jewish mysticism. So traditional Kabbalist in Judaism is called a Mekubal, Mekubbal, and the definition varies according to the tradition and aims to follow it from its original medieval Judaism to later adaptations. It's a set of esoteric teachings meant to explain the relationship between the unchanging eternal God, the mysterious Ein Sof, the infinite, and the mortal fruit universe, God's creation. It forms the foundation of mystical religious interpretations within Judaism.
Yeah, no, I haven't really heard of that, but that does sound quite interesting.
Yeah. Did you look up? I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around, but this topic always makes me. I like this kind of stuff. Is the Opus Dei? Did you look any of that stuff up?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you suck.
Yeah, I do. I will eventually. It does seem interesting. I'll give you that.
I always find it fun. I like the differentiate. I mean, obviously with religion, there's fucking millions of variations and differentiations from region that you're living in, really, or regions that you live in. But I like the little like diversions or like the more secretive ones, or the ones that not that many people know about within it.
Yeah, like I mean, are you familiar with all of like not that part of like Catholicism, but like the actual different like Catholic churches there are? Because there's more than just the Roman Catholic Church.
No, not like again, it's only like stuff like limited to like esoteric or teachings or cults or just specific organizations within the religions. Like I don't really have a
because that's not right. Because that's not what I was talking about. But yeah, so then you know. But you actually would probably really like some Byzantine Catholic music. A lot of that is from like the Near East, like Turkey. Well, like way long ago, Turkey, Greece, and like all of those like Mediterranean Near Eastern countries. It's really good stuff.
I assume it's pretty similar. Well, not like similar, but like you hear a lot more of the traditional, like I think it's called the bouzouki, or more like hand percussion stuff like that. It's a little bit more flavored.
No, it's not. It's not like folk music. It's like liturgical music.
Oh,
in the sense that like Gregorian chant is liturgical music.
Does it sound more medieval?
No, no, it sounds more Eastern,
Okay.
but it's like a different kind of Eastern. It's a Greek kind of Eastern, if you know what I'm saying. Where like it doesn't sound Arabic, but like it kind of does, but like not really. It's kind of that's what makes it so interesting to me.
Yeah, it's like 'cause I've listened to some Greek bands that, and like I've heard some traditional folk music from Greece, and it is very similar. I mean, regionally they're even similar because they're just close together, so they have a bunch of influence. And
Right.
obviously, the same thing with like where the modern guitar comes from was like the Ottomans bringing it to fucking Spain. So a lot of places in Turkey, like where especially like in Egypt, like the ode and all that shit, like that's basically the preface of what was the regular guitar. Obviously, with a bunch
Does
of variations over the years.
the ode comes from Egypt?
I think I can't remember if it's a fucking very old instrument. Like I can't
Oh
remember
damn.
if it originates in Egypt or if that's just a specific one or if it originates in Turkey. It's in one of those two places, and then I know that the Turks brought it over to Spain, and then that's what
What?
basically was the preface of the classical guitar, or they called it the I can't remember what they called it. I think Baroque guitar or a specific type of lute. I don't remember what it is.
Something like that.
Yeah,
But isn't the ode? Because I thought it was like derived from Arabic culture. Am I wrong?
it is. But I don't. What I don't know though is that if the Arabs got it from the Egyptians. That's what I don't remember. If it's an older, if the Egyptians had like a similar instrument that was older, because before they had frets, it was all fretless. So it's like you could change the intonation of the note with your hand depending on where it was. I don't know if the Arabs got that from the Egyptians. It's just been fucking forever since
Yeah.
I've learned it.
Oh, do you know the name of that Egyptian flute? It's so pretty sounding.
Fuck.
I want to get one of those. They're so awesome.
Dude, there are so many fucking types of flutes. Every country's got a goddamn flute. It's hard to remember.
Right, but it's like specifically the Egyptian one is so sound, and it's like so obvious that it's Egyptian. Wait,
I
let me look
think
this
is it
up.
the. Let me look it up because I think it's a long one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Egyptian flute.
Oh, the ney is what it's called.
The ney.
The Ney. Yeah, the ney.
Let's see here. I
It's
have
also
like a.
used
Oh yeah, it just
in.
looks like a fucking wooden flute. Yeah.
It says used in like Egyptian and Persian music. Yeah, okay. I
Yeah, I
need to
mean
get
flutes
me
are
one of
interesting because
those.
it's literally dependent on how big and wide and material and whole. There's different sounds even from different sizes of wooden flutes. But yeah, I like every. I have like one of those shitty like tourist ones that you can get at like whatever native store or like airport if you're in South America. Like the ones that aren't
Right.
like tuned to anything. It's just like a fucking they drilled holes. So I've been trying to play it, but I like this. It's hard. It's not easy. Anything you do with your
Mm,
mouth is not easy, and that goes with every line
no,
of work, whether it's singing or it's sexual. It's just difficult.
I knew
Or
you
if
were
it's
gonna say that.
instrumental.
Right, but man, I want to get an ode and a nay, and then
Fretless
my life
instruments are
will.
hard to play, man. You can't just jump into it.
Well, fuck it. I want to learn because like the ode is so badass. I love it.
Yeah, it's a cool sound, and I like. I mean, the closest thing you can easy is like a fretless bass, and you can. They have most of them have markers on it, so you can slide around. Um,
Hmm.
so it's kind
Well,
of similar.
what are the benefits of a fretless guitar?
Like I said, so before they used to use gut frets, like they use gut strings, like it's sheep intestine, and the whole point was so, like before that, you'd have to with your hand put it over a spot where a note is made. But if you're not precise, since there's no fret that makes it a regular note, you have to fucking choose it with your finger. So if you're slightly off to the left, you're a little bit flat, and if you're slightly off to the right, you're a little bit sharp. So you have to be dead on. So it's like perfect muscle memory. But the upside to that is because frets, they call it temperament. So it's like it's not in tune all the way down the neck. That's the imperfect system that the fret is like. And that's why the gut frets, they tie them on and you're able to move them. So if you played in different keys, you could change the key by moving the frets a little bit and making it a little bit more in tune. But with the fretless, you could do that with your fingers if you were really good. It was super difficult to do, but you could basically play in a bunch of different keys. And also, since they're fretless, you could do microtones, which is more common in Eastern music. So you can do the semitones between the notes, which is not possible to do on frets unless you put it in some weird tuning and fuck around. You know, you have to do a lot of tampering to get those kind of extra notes.
Oh, I see.
So it's like
Yeah.
they basically, it was an imperfect system that you could control yourself, and they tried to make it more manageable, but also made it an imperfect system by putting frets on it, because now you're limiting the note to where it is, and it's going to be different. The closest thing is they make this, not that many guitar makers do it because it's expensive. They call it true temperament frets, where it's like a squiggly line. It's not a straight line. It's supposed to be a more accurate representation of where the note should be. Because if you know, like if you go in your guitar and you tune whatever strings and then you go down the fretboard with your tuner still on, it's gonna be sharp most of the time.
Yeah.
So that's just the best thing you can do is tune it and then intonate it from the bridge and try to get that happy medium where everything kind of sounds in tune, as opposed to one key sounding off, or one key sounding really off compared to some others sounding really in tune. So that's kind of the compromise.
I see. Yeah, I just want to get an ode, man.
They're fun. I know there's a company called Rusbeck. I don't know if I was mentioning them to you before, but they make a bunch of type of traditional instruments like harps, lutes. I think they have a sitar too, also a balalaika, which is like a Russian ukulele. But I think they sell ouds on there, and they're like $500-$600. Like they're not super expensive.
Oh, I see on Amazon I can get one. I can get an ode for 300.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not super expensive. They're basically like, a regular cheaper classical guitar would be, except they're made a lot more difficult. I think it's like pressed wood in a bowl shape, like panels of wood together. So it's like,
Yeah, so it has a really interesting shape. Like, yeah, it's like an ink. It's like a half egg,
yeah, yeah,
but
it's
like at the
really
same
cool.
time, it is cool. And I love how the the neck goes up and then like the thing at the top like just bends. I think it looks so cool.
Yeah, and I watched the reason why I have this baseline knowledge. There's a guy on YouTube. You actually should follow. He doesn't do like Spanish. Well, he does some Spanish style, but he's like a classical guitar nut, and he
Yeah,
probably has like a bunch of music degrees studying classical music, and he's like knows a lot of the history. And he had a video with Rob Scallon called like the history of the acoustic guitar, classical guitar throughout the ages, and that's kind of like where I kind of did a basic synopsis of whatever the fuck I just said. But the reason why they have it backwards is because they had to put more strings on there, because just having 6 strings with the gut strings was not loud. It just kind of sounded dead. So having the harmony and the octaves of 2 strings doubled, it made it sound a lot livelier. It gives it more of that kind of exotic kind of feel to it. And the reason why they had the necks or the headstocks curved was because if it was just a straight line, you'd have to fucking arch your hand a lot more to get it. But if it was curved, it was right there, so you didn't have to extend as much. It's
oh,
fairly
okay.
practical.
Yeah, that's man, that's so cool. I like these other like when you see what different peoples of the world are like able to come up with based on what they have, like with the Incas and their whole irrigation system.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating.
It's more fascinating. We really don't have a good understanding of like not even just who invented it, but like how they actually did it. Like there's a lot of things that our ancestors did that we have no fucking clue how they did, and a lot of it's postulating. Like we don't like there's people that sit on a dogmatic throne and publish textbooks and say this is the most likely reason why they did this, or this is hypothesized how they did it, when it probably isn't close to being true. And I think a lot of like new information about Egypt is proving that, how it's like they have no fucking clue how they built this. And also like all the shit at Machu Picchu, like how they got those rocks up that fucking huge mountain from another mountain across a river, like the pieces aren't really adding up. So I think it's kind of cool that we're just now kind of discovering that we're a little bit more advanced than we thought we were a couple thousand years ago, but not getting into like the fucking ancient aliens territory.
Do you believe that it was aliens?
I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting that every civilization has that similar sort of design, or has that similar type of architecture or like origin story. But I don't know. I think the one thing that is concrete is that they had methods of building shit and technology that we have no idea how they did it. A lot of it's lost. I mean, it's prehistory for a reason.
It's the work of God. Like the Fibonacci sequence that it's in Lateralis.
Did we talk about this last time?
I don't know, but I remembered that it's dubbed as the fingerprint of God, and I don't see how more fitting it could be than to
Well,
call it that.
but it's you can't. It's easy to like force a bunch of like design in that shit. It's like math, right? So it's like you don't really make it up. You kind of discover it. Like it's just an easy pattern. So it's a very
Yeah,
likable pattern to the human eye. So it's like most
like
times
God.
we do it innately.
Yeah, just like God.
Yeah,
It's not something you make up; it's something to discover.
it's just the perfect ratio for things. Because like also like
Right, and
nature like symmetry too. Like it's in a lot of nature.
yeah, because you can see it in like flowers. You can see it like in that Japanese wave painting. You can see it in like your fingerprint has it.
Yeah.
Like the way like all those curves are going, it's following the Fibonacci sequence. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I brought that up because I swore we mentioned this last time, but when because Maynard was on the Joe Rogan podcast and he was talking about that and he was like, he's like it's kind of sophomoric for me to like force those kind of numbers onto the song. He's like your face is that. He's like I'm reprimanding myself for being a little bit silly. So I just
But that was also interesting how they brought it up, like how since it's in our face and like because like the Fibonacci sequence has to be like perfect and follow the formula, and if it doesn't, it completely goes to shit. And that's why when you see someone who has had plastic surgery, you could tell immediately. And I was like, oh, that's why. You know?
Yeah, you know that something's fucking wrong. I just think it's funny because like most people that kind of delve into like intellectualism or they won't shut the fuck up about sacred geometry. They always like cite the Fibonacci fucking sequence as a starting point, right? That's like the intro to the fucking law of attraction or whatever bullshit they're trying to sell you.
Is there any other kind of thing like that you know about?
What the Fibonacci sequence?
Well, like anything like that where like it occurs in nature and it's like geometrical or something like that,
Dude, that's
or
all
just
nature is, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just math. It's just discovering patterns in our lifetime. That's basically you can argue it's universal, or I mean, most people think that it's only subject to the universe or the planet that we live on. So fuck if I know if it's like that on every other planet or whatever, right? But it's just,
well,
I mean, on here, it's pretty much math and it's just patterns. So like, there's thousands of geometrical similarities to everything, and also it's physics. So it's like shitty geometry doesn't work for a lot of things. You know what I mean?
right, and I understand that. But what I was more asking is like, do you know specifically of like a certain kind of thing like that, like the Fibonacci sequence? Like I'm sure there has to be, where like it has a recognizable kind of pattern, and like you could see like it's just naturally pleasing to the eye.
I guess the Pythagorean theorem, it's kind of similar. I don't know how close it is to the Fibonacci sequence, but like you can kind of do like a spiral with it, or it's like a bunch of triangles that invert out into a spiral. So it's kind of the same thing. But no, I don't really know too. My
I never
brain's
realized
not
that.
my brain's not math wired, so but I'm sure there's thousands. And like I said, like I had a brief introduction to sacred geometry, but it was more of like these patterns and lines and circles make a fucking flower, or it's like it resembles planets or resembles fucking whatever. I don't know. But again, all of it just is ubiquitous and it doesn't really have like a meaning to me. So I just kind of forgot it. But
Okay,
again, my
I
brain
see.
isn't really focused. My brain is not wired that way.
I got you. Yep. So going back to the album, Shabbat album by Our Siddur. Sorry, Our Siddur is not the name of the album; it's the name of the band that made it. What would you give the album out of 10?
I'll give it a 7.5
Yeah, that's
or
a very good
7.7.
rating.
I don't know why my brain's feeling a 7.7.
Nice. I'm feeling an 8.
I feel like it would be an 8 if it didn't have that one song that I fucking hated.
Hmm.
So I give it a
Right.
7.7. I hate that's why I'm not an album person. Like I hate judging albums because there's a bunch of bodies of work in the album that I really love and I don't want to be part of the actual score. You know what I mean?
Right. That's why people have a hard time like assigning a numerical value to a TV show
Yeah.
because they're like, well, the show used to be awesome, but like now it sucks and it's like not the same show anymore. So it's like when I'm saying I give it like X out of 10, am I talking about just the part I liked or just like the later or like all together? It's, no one can put an answer on it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Um, oh, you're asking about other geometrical things. I guess a parabola has a lot of spiritual significance of like, two planes
Yeah.
coexisting together on the same type of trajectory, but they're always opposite, kind of split but the same. So that a lot of there's a lot of just like shit that I don't know. It's I think a lot of it, like I said, like the Fibonacci sequence, is forced meaning, or it's just people recognizing why a pattern works or why it's universally dominant in nature just based off of evolution or whatever the fuck. But you can put any sort of spiritual significance to math, which is just music in general. Because music is math,
True.
it's vibration, it's physics. But I don't know
I
anything
know.
about quantum
Yeah.
physics or anything like that. So I feel like if I understood more of quantum physics, I would be able to bridge more of these concepts together. But it's like a fuzzy kind of pie chart in my brain.
Yeah, isn't quantum physics like the alternate universes and stuff like that?
It's
And
just
like how
basically like understanding concepts that are way too complex to be useful on Earth, really. Like time
oh,
travel, time is abstract, black
right.
holes, alternate dimensions is one of them, sure. Schrodinger's fucking cat. Um,
And black holes are like I think that's like some of the most mysterious cool shit in the world.
it's cool that we got the
The
first photograph of them in our lifetime because before it was just theorized by Einstein, but now it's a reality, which is cool.
No wait, let me see this shit.
You don't remember when that came out? It was
I
a
don't know
picture
how
of
long.
it. It was a meme. It was like that.
I mean, I've seen one, but like I don't remember if it's like
You don't remember
when.
the
How
meme of
old is
that like
this?
that lady? Not super old. I think like a couple of years. Like she was sitting, fucking smiling her ass off because she was the one that got the photograph of the black hole. So people kept
Oh
putting a
no.
meme like I can't remember, just like whatever stupid picture that's. But what the fuck was her name? I can't remember what her name was. But she was some. I don't know if she worked for NASA, but she's some fucking scientist that found it.
Let me see. Is it this like
Her name is
blackish orangey one?
yeah, but I can't remember. It was Katie something. What the fuck was her name?
Yeah, it looks. It's like really glowing, a lot of light, and it almost like it goes up and it makes like an arc, and then it comes back down,
Yeah, but
like
I'm specific.
over the circle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm specifically talking about the picture of her. Oh, Katie Booman, that's her name. So like if you type in Katie Booman, like it'll show the picture like it's on her laptop and she's fucking like cheesing out.
Black hole meme.
Yeah.
Ooh, I looked up that, and then it brought up like this one meme is bring up the connection between the black hole and the Eye of Sauron. I was like, ooh yeah, I
Yeah,
never
it
thought
looks
about it
like
that
the Eye
way.
of Sauron.
That is badass. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that I mean, I don't know if black hole I mean, I'm sure there's something to do with quantum physics, but um yeah, like there's also the theory of like living in a matrix or string theory or dark matter, all that shit.
What is string theory? I've heard of that one like a billion times, but because I know what the other one you mentioned was, but the string theory I don't remember that.
Well, it's kind of similar. Like they call it the guard. Like this is specifically referring to dark matter, and that's what that one that particle collider in Europe that everybody was freaking out, thing that causing the Mandela effect. Like they're searching for this particle that makes up a lot of the universe. It's like antimatter, dark matter, and they're trying to collide a bunch of different shit to find it. But so that's a theory that's kind of like the backbone or source ingredients for our universe. I think it's kind of a similar premise with string theory, where it's like a bunch of these some sort of material, not material, but some sort of particle that basically has to do with vibration and time and how basically our universe is originated. But again, since time is theorized to be abstract, you don't know when it fucking started. If it's just has always been or if it keeps going, blah, 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 blah. You can answer that philosophical question for the rest of your life. But it's just a bunch of like theories like that that's been kind of like the black hole where it's like we're pretty sure it's there, we just can't definitively prove it. And they're looking for it.
Yeah. Um, I know I've been asking so many questions, but it's just because this stuff is like so fascinating and I don't really know much about it. But like,
It's hard to get into because, like I said, it's
I can imagine, yeah.
it's a lot of people's opinions on it. It's a lot of theories. It's a lot of math. So it's like you can't really understand it till you understand the math, and that's just fucking impossible for me. But
Right,
I
but
don't know.
what was the one? Yeah, but like all of that stuff with like the dark matter and the antimatter, I'm like, what is that? That is sounds really, really juicy.
Yeah, so they're
But also,
I
like, wait,
think
wait.
they're
Also, don't. Isn't it like we don't really know what dark matter is? We just kind of guess. Like we know that there's something like kind of like it or something.
I may be wrong, but I think it has to do with black holes. I think it's something about like why they're existing or what they actually are. But let me do a quick little search here. I think it's specifically relating to black holes. What is dark matter? This is where I wish I could retain more information. Um, yes, it's a component of the universe whose presence is discerned from its gravitational attraction rather than its luminosity. So it does have to do with black holes.
Oh yeah.
Makes up
Okay.
30.1% of matter energy composition of the universe. The rest is dark energy. So maybe it's just also part of what makes up the universe and I guess how it reacts with black holes. Some shit.
Interesting.
It does not absorb lights because it doesn't interact with the electromagnetic field.
So that's what makes a black hole a black hole.
Well,
Not
it's
interacting with the electromagnetic field.
I'm I'm making educated guess of why that correlates to a
Ah,
black hole. It's hard for me to fucking look on the fly, but I think that's what it is. But it makes
right.
sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, because aren't black holes like they're like the opposite of light essentially?
Well,
Because like you said, like they don't absorb any light. They like
well,
you
if
know
I'm
they
reading this correctly, if they're bridging dark matter to black holes, it like it just said it doesn't react with the electromagnetic field at fucking all. So it's like it doesn't even emit radiation.
oh
It's
yeah,
just
because
a
without
fucking
radiation, there's no light. I guess so.
yeah. Because I don't know what Einstein said about it, but I guess before I was looking into the shit, mind you, it's still infantile. But I just assumed like it was just like the
Nice
abundance of
reference.
nothing or like the absence of everything, like, or it's just something weird with the gravity where it's some gravitational fucking anomaly that just sucks you into some other dimension or just sucks you into nowhere. Like it's hard to grasp where nowhere is. And also, like, if you like philosophically, if you don't believe in nowhere, you have to believe in somewhere. You know what I mean? Or it's like
Right. Well, because
I'm actually
that gets into like logic because where with like the does nowhere exist where it's like well is nowhere a place? Yes. Like therefore it is a place, but it's not nowhere. Like it's not nothing. Yeah. But it's really complicated.
I'm actually kind of curious to know this because I remember when I was growing up religious, I had a weird time thinking about it and just like the concept of space and other like planets and dimensions and stuff like that. Like it's a weird
Right.
thing to think about because it's not really talked about too much theologically. So it's like is the whole and like you have to think
Oh, it
like
is. But I mean, well, I don't know like how you were taught, but go on.
well. What I'm saying is like there is some mentions of everything, but like like there's some like religious people that believe the world's 6,000 years old, or there's no
It's
mention of
flat.
dinosaurs. Yeah,
You
you know what
know.
I mean. So it's like
Right.
I don't
Oh
know where
yeah.
that religious knowledge extends to because it doesn't mention other planets, does it?
Um. I
Which
don't think
is
it does. But I
which
mean,
is weird
but
because civilizations before Christ have had the knowledge of other planets. Like that's just astrologically we
okay.
have proof of that.
Well, right. But the Israelites are really they're poor. I mean, what do you expect them to do?
Well, no, that's not my point. What I'm saying is like there was some like historical context of another planet or another star
Oh
system.
no, yeah, no, yeah, like that's true. Like the Romans obviously did tons of like astronomy. So did like even the Native Americans. I know.
Right, so that's what my point is. Like there's not too much about like other places besides like heaven, earth, and hell. You know what I mean?
Well, right. I mean, they know like the stars and they know what that is. But like, yeah. But at the same, because like that was in the time when like they didn't know that like certain stars you would see or that you might see in the sky were planets.
But
Um.
that's my whole point. So it's like because like they had that limited information back in that day, there wasn't really a specific theory about it. So it's like in the modern times where we go out exploring space, like that's why I'm just like I was always interested in the concept of like like what is the extent of creation? So it's like, did it just stop on Earth, or did he like mess around with other planets, or what is the laws of space? Like, you know what I mean? Like it was always interesting
Yeah,
to me
like
to where that extended to.
is like the universe infinite, or it's like I think I might have heard that like it's kind of like an oval, but like I don't remember if that was true or not.
Well, that's what they're saying. I mean, just in layman's terms, the it's always expanding, right? And like I said, because time is abstract, it's either like it never had a starting point; it just always was. So it's like in my head, it's like, what makes more sense? Did nothing come from nothing, or did nothing come from something, or did something come from nothing? You know what I mean? Like it's a concept that we're never gonna wrap our heads around, really. The
Yeah, that's where
origin.
faith. That's where faith comes in.
Right, but it's still like, it's still just
No,
interesting
yeah,
to think about in that context of like, like,
absolutely.
so it's like, did nothing create God, or was God always there, like the universe? Like there's a lot of parallels that kind of bridge.
Oh yeah. Well, the teaching on that is that well, obviously God is. I mean, he always was there,
Right, so that's what I'm saying. It's
but
abstract, like kind of like the
well, right,
universe.
exactly, and like the reason that like why he can be very hard to understand in like his act is because he is outside of time, right? So like he doesn't think in the same way that we do, obviously, because he is outside of time. And like we can't. I mean, we can think to ourselves like, being outside of time is probably a lot different than being inside of time. But we can kind of go like, yeah, I mean, there probably is a bunch of stuff going on that's like beyond our understanding.
Yeah. I mean,
But
obviously,
we
like,
can, yeah,
time
but
is a
we,
very man-made concept, so it's like not even just like the theory
it's
of time.
scientific, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, like, different. I mean, people always make a big deal of like, like if you go into space and just depends, like our day is just basically the movement of the sun over the earth, or like the gravity. You know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of different types of correlations that we constitute to time, but just as an actual thing, it's just so abstract. And I don't know. I know, like, in terms of motion, it's different. Like in space and farther away from Earth, it's like if you're higher, you go faster than you are closer to the Earth. That's why like intercontinentalist, or those like nukes that fucking go into space and then drop back down, they can fucking travel thousands and thousands of miles a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting because like there's certain parts of like the universe where like we don't know if the rules of like if the laws of physics like would even apply to them.
Yeah, that's what
I,
I'm saying.
that's
A lot
what's
of our shit
so
is based in Earth.
I know. Yeah, that's so fascinating.
But I'm just saying, like,
Um,
just in general, like what you think about just like the creation of other things, like other planets, or like, do you believe in like life out there in the world, or in the universe, I should say?
I mean, even if there is, which I mean, like, yeah, there might be. I don't think there is, but I'm not like completely closed off to the idea that there is. But like, I personally like don't really see how that would contradict anything in like my faith because like
No, no, no.
he
It's
did.
not meant to contradict. I'm just saying, do you think it's interesting? Because, like, I mean, obviously,
Oh,
like, there'd be
definitely,
no use
definitely.
for it. Like, why? Like, who would care about? Like, why would like God tell people on Earth about life on another planet? You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think why. I don't see why it'd be relevant. And then if it's from the man-made concept, and they just didn't have the perspective back then. What I'm saying is just like because it's so mysterious and it's so much gray area, and there's no actual like legitimate doctrine on it. Although, like, most people, I feel like most people that you ask, because I've had the conversation with my mom, because like because she's like into like ghosts and spirits, just also religious, and just
Man,
like in general, like she's scared of
right.
fucking, well, not scared of, but like she thinks that they're real, but she doesn't believe in aliens. So I've always that it's interesting for people that like either don't
Yeah.
believe in ghosts and believe in aliens, or believe in aliens and don't believe in ghosts, or if they don't believe in either. It's very interesting. But I feel like a lot of religious people don't believe in aliens or that life could exist, but they believe in like spirits and ghosts.
But isn't it highly as far as we know scientifically like wouldn't it be quite hard for like sentient life to exist in like other parts of the universe based on like the environment and stuff like that of other planets?
Well, statistically, you'd have to think, since it's fucking endless and it's constantly expanding and there's billions and trillions and billions of universes, like to even have one other planet that's like us is, I mean, it's almost a guarantee. Now, I don't know how much, highly sophisticated, intelligent sentience there is in the universe. I feel like it has to be somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a million, and also it gets touchy again because then you get into the theory of alternate dimensions. So it's like if there's
Right.
millions of
That
different
shit's cool.
possibilities of us, like that's also a possibility too,
Yeah.
because it's
But you
just
were asking
endless.
me like if it's like I think it's interesting. Oh, absolutely, I think it's interesting. Um, because like it's always cool to see what there is out there, you know.
Yeah.
And like for me, I just look at it. And this isn't me preaching you, obviously, but this is I just kind of see it as like, yeah, there's just a lot of shit that God made that like I want to know more about it, you know. That's just how I view these things. But the idea of aliens, where I mean, I know like we depict them in certain ways, and like, do I believe in aliens like that? No, I can kind of say like, no, I don't really think that aliens like the way we depict them in movies and whatever it is. I don't really think that's what it is because I think
But you think there's
life
intelligent life out there somewhere?
in the sense that we are intelligent. No, I don't.
So you don't think there's
But
a
I
civilization out there somewhere in the universe that's like a little, like probably okay, like let's say our Stone Age or our medieval age, something like that.
no, I don't. Something like that is like sentient and a civilization. I don't. I like I said, I am open to the possibility. Like, yeah, there might be some like bacteria or like fish kind of thingies on like Mars, but I don't think there's things that have the same consciousness as like or a similar kind of consciousness as we do.
So you don't think there's any sort of civilization, okay, let's say like of animals, like something close to like primates, how they're communal, they have some sort of technology, they can have communication, they can do shit.
No, because I really kind of look at that in the same way that I view fantasy
Well, we
because
don't know what it is. We're just guessing. So it's
well,
like it's not like
right,
putting a
right.
specific type of thing. It's just like, is there intelligent life somewhere on some planet that? Because like you look in the universe, there are planets that are able to sustain life, but they're so far away we barely can get a glimpse of them. So like, there's no way we can study them or send a fucking robot to go out there. You know what I mean? Like we don't have the vast, like nowhere
Well,
close to us
sure.
can sustain life. So that's why. But like there's planets that are definitely are have like a similar like planet to ours that have a fucking atmosphere and are closer enough, but just far away enough from the sun to sustain actual life. You know what I mean? Like there are planets that are like that, and you'd think as big and advanced as the universe is, there's got to be millions of planets that are like that. So that's why I'm saying statistically, I think it's totally plausible that there's intelligent life out there that's like us.
Well, yeah, I can see what you're saying, but for me, I just think us, like we as human beings making that metaphysical claim. Well, no, it's not metaphysical. Sorry, I misspoke. Making that guess is like, and it's like you said, you can back it up with very adequate in like information and sources and facts to like be like, hey, um, like we have this or this and that, so like it's highly likely that this and that, and yeah, I accept that. But for me, I think the idea that there is sentient life in the way that we are, that is just kind of like us putting something that like we understand and like the way we understand of it and applying it to something that like out there, like I don't even know if it would because like the way you were talking about like civilization, I just don't really understand how that would work outside of the context of like humanity.
Well, it's the whole point of it being sentient. It's not. I'm not saying it's a similar culture to ours. I'm saying like the capacity to have some sort of consciousness and some sort of sentience or self autonomy. Like it can be in ways that we can never understand, or it could be less intelligent or more sophisticated than us. But I think it's. I don't know. It's like I said, statistically, I think it's just a guarantee that there is life out there. But how coordinated and how fucking sophisticated it is, that's the question. But I'm just saying, like, I don't, like, it can be humanoid or animal, or just, like, it doesn't matter what the fuck it is, or it could be just matter or energy. Like, there could be sentient energy. You have no idea.
Right. And I see that, but I'm just simply saying we saying that is just our understanding of things and applying it to other places because there still is the possibility that it's not. But I do see where you're coming from, and yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I
So
really have
what,
to
like,
say.
what doesn't, or what makes that seem impossible?
Well, because of the way that we're just kind of like like this, it's just the way our consciousness is as human beings and like the way we perceive things.
Right, but I'm not saying that there's a civilization that has a consciousness that's like ours.
Well, I understand that, but well, I but consciousness but like sentience implies that it's higher.
It's a sense of self. It's like you're aware that you're a thing and you can communicate with other things.
Right, but are you saying like so? Does like a fish count as a sentient being?
So if there's types of fish that can communicate with other types of fish, then sure. But if
All
there's
right,
fishes
then.
that are just fucking stupid and they just, like a goldfish, like the 3 seconds of memory and then they're gone, then no, because they don't understand. But I don't know the sentience of a fish. I don't know how much it understands. I don't think. I mean, I think as science goes on, like we can, detect the animals that have larger scales of intelligence, like fucking dolphins are highly intelligent and can communicate. Primates are highly intelligent and can communicate. I think there's even primates that are sentient, I would say, because like they know they have a name, they can communicate with sign language. You know what I mean? But they're not like more sophisticated than humans are. Elephants are another
Oh,
highly
okay.
intelligent animal, and there's actually, I was something the other day that elephants actually, they're theorizing that they have a religion. They said that they gather around the moon, so like it's theorized that elephants worship the moon.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I have no fucking idea what sentience is out there, but it just statistically to me it's impossible to say that there is no other sentient life outside of our own. Just not even, like I said, past our galaxy.
Still a metaphysical claim, but I digress.
How's
I
it
also
metaphysical?
because you're still going off of like a this is what I think because
Well, the
the
metaphysical is like
likelihood of
spiritual and
this.
like spirits and shit,
Not
or
necessarily.
paranormal, right?
No, metaphysical deals with like the meta concepts of being and like what it really means to be. So like a metaphysical claim, I'm going to give you the classic example. A metaphysical claim is saying that science proves everything or like science explains everything. And it's like, well, no it doesn't because does science say that science proves everything? No it doesn't. So
Well, the whole
you're
point is
using
that
a
it's tentative, so it's like you fix the
no,
mistakes.
but that's a metaphysical claim in and of itself.
I think I don't.
Because metaphysical is like not things that you like observe in the physical world in the way that in the way that science is, but you're using a metaphysical claim to explain why science is important.
I see.
You see, yeah.
Yeah.
So it also deals with a lot of spirituality, but it's essentially just things about our nature and our being, and things like in the world that can't be explained empirically or with like scientific evidence. So they have to be explained, in that sense. Um,
Well, I think when you're talking about anything that you don't have any distinctive proof for, you can throw whatever fucking word you want. It's just all gonna be like what makes the most sense to the majority of people versus what's the counter idea to, or what challenges that narrative. So it's like there is no definitive proof. I'm just saying statistically it makes the most sense than not, because like it's like the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence kind of shit. So it's like there's more shit proving it right than proving it wrong.
all right. Well, yeah, I accept that.
But
But
yeah, definitively, who fucking knows? I hope
exactly.
so.
But
I hope I get to see something in my lifetime.
yeah, but if you were talking about the like that those kind of fish being sentient, could something be out there? It could be. I don't know. But
So why, if there's a
Yeah,
capacity for life, that there's only lower types of sentience? What does that mean to you then? Like, why are we the only ones that are graced with it?
because that's just like I was talking about, like the way we think of things as humans and how we tend to like as humans we like overestimate things. We can think very highly of ourselves. We can over, like all that stuff.
Right.
We can
That's
be
what I'm
very
saying. To me,
arrogant.
it's the arrogance, and like
No, I think it's quite arrogant in my eye to think that like we're not special. That's how I view things because human beings, and I talked about this in the podcast I had with Ethan, how human beings are indeed like the greatest species of all time. No other species is smarter than us, is more sophisticated than us, and has done like so much shit in such a short period of time. Because like the universe has existed for like what, like 4.6 billion years or whatever it is, and we've done this in just like 4,000 years or like however much it was. I don't remember, but yeah, that's not a lot of time, but we've still done all of this stuff. Where it's like, is there any other recorded anything like this? No.
Yeah, but that's because there's nothing else to base it off of. This is it. We only have evidence of stuff that's happened on our own planet, and that even that we barely understand. We barely understand the ocean, and we're just now being. I mean, we've only been in space since what, the fucking 60s, and there's people still
Yeah,
alive
that's right.
today that. Well, I mean, they're fucking old, but like, there's people still alive that've been around before we went to space.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's the arrogance, or it's like the fear that we're alone, or that we're smaller, and we're less insignificant, we're more insignificant than we think we are. But yeah, on this planet, there's nobody that's like us for sure. But to say that like we're the only ones in the fucking universe, I think is an arrogant statement. That's like that.
I just don't really see how it is. When, like I said, there's nothing really like, because there is no definitive proof that there, and like you said, there is like you said, there's a good case you can make for it, but it's that there is life outside of this planet, but it still is a metaphysical claim.
Well,
Because
right,
like
yeah.
because I heard this one argument, like how it's like living on Earth is like living in a puddle. You didn't know that there was like a whole ocean out there. And it's like, yeah, but well, how do you know
That's what
that
I'm
the
saying with the
ocean
absence
is
of evidence thing. Like, you only
right?
know
But
the
like,
scope of what you know until you know what you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm
right, but
saying. It's an arrogant claim to make that when we have no definitive proof either way.
we're still using an example, and like, how do you say, like, when you, well, like you're using like a simile with things that we understand, and it's not like, because you're still using it in the concept of like a pond in an ocean, and it's like, well, we know what those things are because those are on our planet, and like I know, like I'm not really sounding very good, but it's just using things that like we know to explain this other thing. I'm not explaining myself very well, but
I'm trying to just get an understanding. So, because we don't know it, then it doesn't exist, or because we don't know it, we
no,
don't
it's
know
it's
definitively what happens out there, that we can't say that it does exist. Is that what you're saying?
what I'm saying is that because there's no proof, you cannot definitively say, and I know you not you specifically, but we cannot definitively say like that there is these things when there
Right,
is
I
no
agree. If
definitive
you
proof
don't
for it.
have definitive proof, you can't say 100%. And that's the thing with black holes, right? Black holes started as a theory, and like we can't definitely say they were real because we haven't found one until recently. You know what I mean? Like, it was highly probable that they exist just based off of the math and the numbers. And I don't know what other reasons why we theorize they exist. I don't fucking know Einstein, but like, it was something that was highly probable and not proven until recently, concretely. That's what
Right.
I'm saying. So it's like, it's taking things that are highly probable and exploring them and figuring them out and saying this is the most likely chance of this succeeding, and then you just kind of work out the fucking numbers until you get definitive proof. And that's why I'm saying it's supposed to be tentative. So it's like, I think it's arrogant to make statements when we don't know for sure, but then you explore the most likely things, and if it is a failure, then you can cross it off until you're proven otherwise. You know what I mean?
All right. Well,
So yeah, I can't
yeah,
definitively say there is life out there. I'm just saying statistically, it's probably more likely than not.
yeah, that's not a bad way of looking at it. And me, I'm just like, well, number one, we don't know for sure. But number two, it doesn't really bother me because with like my understanding of scripture and stuff like that, because like, and like I know you weren't really wanting to talk about this. Like for me, it doesn't. I don't really see how it would contradict anything that I believe in, because God came to Earth to save humans. You know, so it's like if there's aliens, like who cares? I don't know. Like,
Well, no, like my like I said before, like my point wasn't to like get you to make a contradiction, because like when I originally when I said like I remember growing up religious, I was always interested in the concept of like life outside of like Earth and like how that would work, or like what would God think about, you know what I mean? Like I just, since there was really no reference to it, and I didn't really heard anybody else talk about it, I was just curious to know, because like it was interesting to me. Like I assumed, like to my mind, that like, you know, like what if we weren't the only planet? Like what if like he, you know, God did this with other planets too, to see which ones worked better and which ones sucked and which ones didn't work. And you know, he was a crafter, he was an experimenter, and he was constantly like it was like the concept of creation. So it's like it was weird to me that we're the only ones that was the center of creation, which is a big thing to say, because that's the whole point of faith, right? Is like, you know, the concept of sin, and like Jesus dying for our sins, like we seem to be a very big deal in that regard. But like I always have to think, like, you know, was it like that on other planets? Like, you know what I mean? Like
well, it
did
makes
God's
you.
creation of like he made one gigantic universe and just stopped with one planet of people?
Yeah, no, it's just. I
That's why
mean,
I thought it was
some
interesting.
right, because I mean, some questions like this are easier to answer than others.
Well, no, there's
But
no
I mean,
answer. I just think what you thought about it. Like if you think
right.
God
Well,
like created other life besides our planet.
well, to me, I mean, like if we are the only, well, because that's the thing. That's just the thing. It brings back to the problem I have with like if we are the only thing. It's like, well, I mean, as far as we're concerned, yes, we are. And also, like I said, there's nothing really. I don't think there would be anything like humans. So
Do religious people make that claim that we're the only beings in the universe? Because I feel like a lot of religious people feel that way, but like there's
I
no like specific like nobody's like telling people that's the case, right?
I don't really know. But like I said, because with my understanding of the faith and what we believe as Catholics is that like there's literally nothing you can find in science that disproves the Bible. So I don't really know how other types of religious people feel about it, but that's just our sentiment about it.
Well,
Uh,
that's
but
what
uh,
I'm saying is like I don't think it disproves it. Like the thing about dinosaurs, I don't think like proving dinosaurs exist is a contradiction to the Bible, because like they just didn't have that frame
no,
of
it's not.
reference. That's what I'm
Well,
saying. Like
right,
there's no it's not a contradicting thing in my mind. It's just there's no information. Like there's nothing.
you're right, and also yeah, because like people go like, oh well, doesn't like dinosaurs disprove like the whole creation story? And it's like, well, no, because like you have to take into account like what was a day to these like to these writers back in like who knows when this was written. Like it probably wasn't 24 hours, you know, like
Yeah.
and like I know people can say that that's like a cop out, like you know, like we're backtracking and stuff like that, but from the Thomistic view of the Bible, you can know that it's never that you were like we were we were wrong about the Bible. It's just that we were reading the Bible wrong, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I like I said, I've never really like, especially like looking at things from a historical context and how there's so much gray area just in general. It's hard to definitively say anything about our ancient past. So I don't even want to go there making claims of like what actually happened, because honestly, just researching this shit, like people that they say they definitively know don't know. Like there's so much context you lose from not fucking being there, and things being lost in
Well,
translation, things being scammed. Like it's just there's so much shit that you have to go through, and it's just and looking how, like I said, how it's becoming more apparent that we were a lot more advanced back in the day than what's being taught, or the fact that like, and you know, like you remember in school in history, every fucking thing you learned was wrong the next year. because they just wanted to ease us into some bull. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking
No, I
stupid the way
know.
we teach our past, and a lot of
Right,
it's
but
wrong. To be honest with you, and I don't know what the
no,
right answer
no.
is, but I feel like a lot of it's wrong.
I mean, yeah, you're right about that. How like the way that a lot of history is taught is wrong because it's not, and you would probably agree with me, is that it's not really taught in like the most objective way you can. It's just it has to have like a viewpoint with like cherry picked things in it. You know?
Yeah, it's literally history makes the right, and honestly, because it's millions and billions of people and like so many different cultures and so many fucking years ago. It's partly we don't know how things happen, but we're making up excuses. Also, partly covering information that's clearly fucking wrong to further some agenda. It's not like that all the time, but I feel like there's pieces of that in there for sure, right? Also, another part of it
Right.
is like maybe we don't, like I said, we don't have the context. It's like we can get the best, anthropologists or archaeologists, and we can make a hypothesis of what their language sounded like. You know what I mean? But like that might be dead fucking wrong. Like we barely know what the Egyptians look like. We only know like based off of some descriptions or maybe some fucking drawings or depictions, but we don't really have a
'Cause
basic
that's
knowledge.
well, right, because that's science and like theorizing and like making because it's just we're observing what there is and making conclusions based on evidence. And like you said, like being there really is a big thing that like we just don't really have any concept of because they're essentially just stories that are passed down. Um,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's
yeah,
like playing telephone. Like you get a room with 10 people, you can't get the same fucking story. So like, how the fuck are we supposed to get that right thousands and thousands of years?
right.
Especially with places with no written history. Like it's impossible.
Right, but that's what's so fascinating about the Jews is that they have that super long history of writing, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously, I mean, there is the faith element with the Bible, and because I mean, I do have to question myself multiple times because I'm reading this book about the history of the Jews and a bunch of like weird shit that happened among Jewish history. And I stopped to ask myself, I'm like, like, is all of this real? Like, did all this happen? I'm just like,
I was about to ask you that. Like, isn't there a lot of conflicting information between like, you know what I mean? Like
well,
Judaism and Catholicism. So it's like I'd imagine there's a lot of shit that you're like, what is real? You know?
well, conflicting between the two religions is what you're asking.
Yeah, culturally too. I feel like there's a lot of conflicting information. That's why they're two whole fucking different branches of what's supposed to be the same God. You know what I mean?
Well, they are the same God, but it's just because they don't. The Jews are different because they don't accept the new covenant.
They don't accept
That's
Christ, right? Like the whole
well, right,
basis of
because
it, they don't accept. That's why it's completely conflicting. Because that's the whole point of Christianity. That's the part they deny,
well,
right?
it's that yeah, because they can't like come to the grips with the idea that God could have made himself human and lived among us, as the final sacrifice. But like the more you actually think about it, the more it makes sense and the more it really resonates with you. Um, because modern Judaism is obviously like extremely different than the way Judaism was practiced, 2,000 years ago, right? And that's so like you can obviously see from that Christianity is just this kind of like extension of Judaism. Well, it's not like a DLC. It's just the next step, But there's nothing really because like when you actually read like the Old Testament, you can actually see all of these different things and how they play out later in the life of Jesus and stuff like that. When you see all of the prophets like predicting, and having these visions of the Messiah and stuff like that, you see how it pays off later on the line, and that's why I just don't really understand. Like I'm just like guys, like why don't you think the Messiah is coming? I don't get it.
Well, they were there first.
No, I know, and like I don't blame the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees for not believing Jesus because there had been tons of false prophets and like just people claiming to be the Messiah. They were probably just like, yeah, why is this guy any different? Like I don't blame him, but well, and also without that, then he wouldn't have been condemned to death, and he wouldn't have made the sacrifice, and he wouldn't have redeemed the world. But
It's a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah, that's the biggest silver lining of history. Let me tell you. But no, it's just like when you read the Bible as a Christian, it doesn't like you can see certain passages that like it may be like, oh, like you hear this, like why does it say this but we do this, and it's like, well, there's multiple things that you need to think about, like, well, like what is said before the specific line in the Bible and what is said after, and also like really what it is that it means, because it's like, do we take it at face value or do we take it of like, it's complicated. It's not an easy, like the Bible is not an easy book to read or understand. It takes quite a long time, and I don't even fully understand it, because like there's this passage about in the Bible, I think it was like Elijah, I think was the prophet. He was just chilling, and then these kids were like making fun of him, and then he called like upon God or something to like for something, and then like a bear, they like the kids got mauled by a bear. I was like, okay.
I think that was my main thing too, with the, like just realizing how much like it's easy in my head to see why there's so many different religions and there's so many different interpretations and just sects just in Christianity itself, because like it's a poetic book, so it's like half the shit in there you read you could take in millions of different ways, and just whoever has the most influence or whoever just fucking has the narrative of this is what it means, then sure. So it's like, how are you supposed to take anything at face value? Because like you ask 5 people to read it, they're going to give you probably a different iteration if they never had that context of like, let's say like if you took 5 people that didn't grow up in a specific type of religion, you just told 5 of them that God's real, this is the general message, and then you have them read the Bible, and then you say, what is your interpretation of this passage or this story? What is the moral, right? Or if you're supposed to read the word, like the same thing with like the like Noah's Ark, right? So it's like, is it every animal on the planet or just every animal they had around them at that time? So it's like they didn't mention every fucking animal that was in existence in the Bible. It'd be thousands of more pages long, if not millions of more pages. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you just
Right, but
it's like translations of languages that are so old, over thousands of years, and multiple down into the modern English version. I just don't think like taking those words at face value makes sense, and then it's hard to just get general context anyway. So it's like how like specifically like you can take one sentence and somebody like preaches that as gospel, but then like you read it and it's just like, what is the specific context?
oh, that's why you have the church to help you. But what I
But
actually
that's what
wanted
my
to,
point is. Like that's their interpretation of that, what it's supposed to
well,
mean.
no, it isn't. I must say it's, well,
But it is though,
be,
because everybody has their own interpretation. Like every sect has a different interpretation of it. You might
yes,
not
but
agree
the
with it, but
Catholic,
that's why they have their own sect, because it's that ubiquitous.
yes, but this is something that I really try to explain to people, is that Catholicism is not a sect of Christianity. And this is why that non-denominational Christianity is bullshit, because there's no such thing as non-denominational Christianity outside of Catholicism. Because when people talk about like, oh, we need like Christian unity, it's like we can't have Christian unity without Catholicism, because we need to have everyone under the Eucharist. And when you don't have the Eucharist, you don't have this understanding of like, why is it that we need to go to church every Sunday, and why is it that like a church is special and stuff like that. But the biggest difference between, well, for lack of a better term, the Catholic Church as opposed to any, well, and they're not churches because they don't have the Eucharist, and I'm sorry if that offends you, but that's just how it is. The biggest difference is that the Catholic Church will tell you where you're wrong when you are trying to understand Scripture, as opposed to any of the other like 2,000 plus denominations or whatever. They'll tell you where you're right. And it's like, well, if all of these other people are telling me it's right, then like, well, how do I know? And like,
Right, but
well,
you have to think about it back in the context of that time. Like they didn't have the Catholic Church back in that day when the Bible was written. So it's like you can't base it off of that because it wasn't even around. So it's like you have to think about contextually.
Well, you had the right, but you had the Jewish people, and that was the original mission of Judaism, was to like gradually, not in the same way as like Christianity, but to like bring godliness into the world. And when you Well, and like you were saying, like thinking about like the historical context of these biblical stories, and that's true because when you actually take into account, like when you look through the lens of the biblical world, which was essentially just it was just the Near East and parts of the Middle East. You can actually see like with Noah's Ark, there is evidence that shows like with certain like patterns in the sand, I think, and like in certain excavations. I don't remember how, but like there's just like certain archaeologists like do know that there was a flood that was in that entire region, which was the known world at the time.
Right, but it
And
was
also,
thousands of years older. So like I know like the ones that they're I mean it's still considered pseudoscience for like 12,000 years is the primary kind of or 11,600 12,000 years. So like their theory was that like an asteroid hit like Greenland and it flooded like millions of coastal cities around the planet. So it's like I mean every origin story, no matter what culture you think, what has depictions of a flood, right, or like a catastrophic flood, and obviously there's like evidence of flooding, and but like when it's that old, there's nothing left of it. So it's like you really have to find a bunch of proof. And this we're saying the Younger Dryas event where a bunch of like flora and fauna got extinct or just died around that time period. So it's like I think recently they found a crater in Greenland that might be hypothesized as the thing, but I don't know. Like I feel like even like if it's all made up or if it is based in reality, like people have context for certain things like that. So it's like, yes, there's probably been a catastrophic flood thousands and thousands of years ago, but it just depends. Like that's what I'm saying. So it's like that it had to be influenced from somewhere. So it's like somebody had to like thousands of years ago this happened, right? So who knows how long ago something happened, but that's kind of the thing is 12,000 years, but nothing in our recent history suggests that there was a massive flood.
well, like I said, it was only in what was the known world at the time.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's thousands of years prior to that, prior to all that shit happening. That's what my point is. So it's like we don't have the actual date of when that stuff happened, but it's thousands of years before that time. Where I don't
Right.
like, does
We
it
don't.
say like when the flood was? Like, is there a depicted time that people think that was? Was that during like before Jesus's time? I don't even know.
Like Noah's Ark.
Yeah, like stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, I mean that's anything like that. That's all in the Old Testament, so that all took place well before Jesus' time.
Right, but there's no like do theologians like like suggest when that was?
I mean, like I said, I don't remember exactly when they said it was, but like archaeologists have found enough evidence to prove that there was a something there was a flood that did like devastate the known world. I mean, I would probably have to like look back in like the research when they actually said, because like we're very good at dating things, right? When it actually was that this flood happened, I don't really remember because I know Abraham was like, I believe he was like 2,000 years before Jesus, but then Noah was like however many before him. So I don't really remember it. I don't think it's explicitly said in the Bible.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So it's like if there's no like date for it, so it's like it's still considered pseudo archaeology, but I think more and more evidence is proving to a claim that there was a massive catastrophic flood that wiped out a lot of the coastal cities on the planet around that time frame. And I think that's the closest because I believe, and just like I said from watching all the archaeology videos that I watch, and I like a lot of people are hypothesizing, especially like with the Egyptians, like where I keep talking about how there was an older civilization that was wiped out by this fucking flood that the Egyptians built on. So it's like all this stuff in Peru, that's all these granite blocks that are so fucking difficult to cut. There's no way they could have done it with the tools that they had back in that time. They just built on top of them. So that's what I'm saying, and that's why, like with Plato with Atlantis, it's the whole thing where Atlantis got swept into the sea thousands of years before the Egyptians, and they were theorized as like, Egypt was one of the colonies of Atlantis originally. Atlantis was like the capital city, and they had a bunch of cities around the world. So it's like that theory seems to be like making more sense to me, and I think as time goes on, we're gonna keep developing more evidence because we keep unveiling sites that are like 10,000 years old to 12,000 years old, where we previously thought that was just hunter gatherers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
No, and I do agree with you because like I mean, there's tons of like peoples that like we have known nothing about, and there's tons of like people stated in the Bible that are mentioned once, and like they're really mysterious, and we know nothing about them. But
right, so
that's also but that's like for me, I still look at it through the lens of the Bible because the Bible does have like this really ominous like it has this really ominous layer of mystery to it. So that's why I'm like, I just don't really see, like I said with like the alien thing, how this is like, and like I know you might necessarily, you wouldn't necessarily say that like this is what you were talking about and trying to get me to like not, because I know that's not what you're doing. But for me, I'm just like, yeah, I just don't really see how like looking at this through the Bible is like a like the wrong way of looking at these things, you know.
Well, I'm not saying it's the wrong way. I'm just saying like there's like it makes sense why there's so many alternate theories because of how like like I said, it's a poetic thing, and it's like you have to think about the context of what it was back then. And like I feel like, I mean, now it's purely fucking political. Like I can't like think of, I can't even say that without a, like, it doesn't matter what sect it is or what, even what religion. I just think now everything is just so bastardized to the point where people just spew rhetoric, and it doesn't even matter if it is pertaining to the original message or not. It's just to fuel some sort of thing, whether it's greed, power, or just straight up just dogmatic ignorance. Like I don't, I think everything modern days is lost from its original meaning. So that's why I don't think it doesn't matter to me to disprove or prove something, because it, like, even people that, the people that are atheists are fucking annoying. The people that are religious are fucking annoying to me. So it's like I don't have a philosophical need to disprove or prove anything. I just think it's interesting that people will just go out of their way to, you know, just say that they, for me, it's like arrogance enough to like say that something definitively happened when we really are just getting a basic understanding of our past.
Well, it's definitive in the sense that like there is shit that's real, you know, and well, that wasn't a good way of explaining it. But I mean, because like I said, the Bible isn't definitive, but there's the element of faith in it. But because it has the godliness in it, and we do have the godliness in us, there is like this kind of like weird way that it like draws you, and it kind of just makes sense like when you just believe. And I know that's a really cheesy way of looking at things, and I'm sure you think that that's bullshit, and a lot of people do, but it really helps you understand when you look at things of like, you know what, there's a lot of things I don't know in the Bible, but the Bible is indeed like it is divinely inspired. One, it's not the word of God. I think people confuse that. This Franciscan friar explained this really well. How the Bible is not the word of God. Jesus Christ is the word of God. And because, you know, many of the books of the Bible were written by people, you know, like it wasn't literally written by God. But when you look at things of just like I'm not sure how this works, but I know that there is a way, like there's a way that we can know how it works. It just really lets you like, it's not like a comfort, but it's just like a, you know what, like it just makes me not like stress out about a lot of things and get scared all the time, you know, just in knowing that I do have like that truth to fall back to and be like, yeah, this, you know what, like this is how it is. And like even if it doesn't make sense, like I said, the story with Elijah calling upon God to have the bear maul the children, why that was, I don't know, but there was a reason for it, you know, because there's a reason for everything.
No, I get the concept that it takes faith to believe in it. And like, there's so many, like I said, everything is so fucking complex. Like, it's not about disproving everything or proving everything to me. I just think that it's a little bit interesting to, I mean, it's actually interesting to hear you say that the Bible is not the word of God, because I feel like I've heard that. I don't know if that's just a purely.
I know that is a very big misunderstanding and something.
Well, it's not even a misunderstanding. Like I've been in churches where like that's like all they talk about is the Bible is the word of God. Like this is the word of God for, you know what I mean? Like that's a big deal.
Right, and I'm in no way like putting you down, because like that's
No, I
not
don't
it.
give a
But
fuck. It's not me. But what I'm saying is like there's
right,
people that believe that. So that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like
well,
that's my whole point. Is like everything is so different. There's so many ways you can interpret it, and everybody thinks their way is the way, and that's why I think it's so difficult for people to like. I think honestly that's why people like have lost faith in the church, or like are becoming agnostic or not becoming religious, or the people that aren't religious aren't getting into it, is because like there isn't a clear message anymore. Everything is so bastardized, and everybody has think that theirs is right, and it's like people don't want to be involved in that shit. I think that's the main problem.
Well, I'll put it this way: to answer your question about apostasy and people leaving the church, that comes a lot from what people think they like of what people think the church is, and also like just being in urban environments where like there are several people, like probably most of the bishops in this country in urban environments, like they're terrible people. Like they really test my patience sometimes.
No, I'm not trying to get you to be on an apologist mindset. What I'm saying is like the message.
I'm not
is
doing that. I know, and I understand that, and I'm not doing the apologist thing. But what I'm saying is like a lot of this comes from like but the confusion is just from people that only have the urban, modern American post-Vatican II understanding of Catholicism, and they don't really know about like really what Catholicism was or has been, or like how there's multiple different things, like there's multiple different types as well, because like people just have like the lampoon view of the Catholic Church. That's just what I think, and that's what causes people to leave. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's misdirection, and like I said, once it's become politicized, it's too late. I think it's like the topic of religion. Like I remember back in the day, like people were just questioning the existence of like is there a God, or like they use the Bible and like like the Bible versus science, or like they're trying to disprove and prove everything. But now it's not even that. It's just of like I said, it's purely political now. So it's like when you talk about religion, you talk about abortion or women's rights or whatever the fuck, right? So it's like it's on a totally different playing field now. I guess the best way I can explain it is like for me growing up, I guess is very different. So it's like since like I mean the Methodist Church is probably the closest thing to the Catholic Church. They have like meetings and rules, but it's very loose. It's not like specific doctrine. It's just like there's like it's more of like guidelines, I think. But
it's not.
I'm saying like it's structured probably the closest to Catholicism. I'm not saying it's the same thing, because like you look at every other kind of church, it's mainly individual preachers and pastors. It's not like a congregation of different churches.
The closest thing to Catholicism that isn't Orthodoxy is probably Anglicanism, but out of the actual like Protestant churches that like are based in like the doctrines of like Martin Luther and stuff like that, you could be right.
I'm just saying the level of organization was kind of the same. There's like a head person that they all go to a conference and they kind of make decisions. It's like, for example, like gay marriage is a big one. So there's a lot of Methodist preachers that don't agree that to be a Methodist preacher, you are not allowed to marry gay people. Like that's a thing. So like so like that's what I'm saying. Like they structure some things kind of like that. I don't know what the fucking deal is. I'm just saying, from my understanding, they do some sort of organization that's past one church. Not most churches, especially in the South, it's just one little fucking shack. That's where it's the pastor is the word of God. It's not a group of people, or it's not a meeting. You know what I mean? It's more organized.
And you were talking to me about the like why it is confusing, and why like there's so many billion people that have their own interpretation, and that's why, like I was saying, that's why we have Catholicism, because it's just and like don't take this the wrong way, but like there is like this certain sense of like humility in the way where you're like, you know what, like maybe I am wrong, maybe I should listen to this, as opposed to like I'm going to make my own church for X, Y, and Z, whereas like, you know what, let me just trust in the fathers, like the church fathers. Let me just I'm going to just trust in what came before me and what existed for 2,000 years and what has got us to this point.
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I think it's the same thing in terms of like, so like I said, like what I was about to say, like growing up, like my reference light. So it's like not being Catholic, the thing was like the Bible. Like it was their interpretations of what the Bible is, right? They didn't, and like I said, Methodist was a little bit different. They had some kind of rules, but they didn't really talk about it. Like that was more of like the church bureaucracy, but it wasn't like laid out to regular people. It was more so like the priests were, I'm sorry, the pastors were allowed to do and not do certain things, but it wasn't really like they didn't doctrinate us into that shit. I didn't find out about it until like a couple of years ago. My point is like from their point of view is their interpretation of the Bible, and that the Bible is the word of God, and then what their metaphor, like there's a lot of metaphors. What their metaphor was pretty much like that, and people kind of had their own little views. I feel like it's the same way in Catholicism, except you have your very specific things that you can and not say and not believe and believe, but it's still the same, like, you know, God inspired me to talk about this message or this parallel, you know what I mean? Like it's to me it's the same thing, just with different rules.
Well, it's not the same thing.
Not
Because
the message, I'm saying like the way they talk about it and the way they explain it. It's still
that's
a
fair.
personal thing.
That could be the way that it's done.
That's what I'm saying. So
Right.
it's like
That's true.
That sort of thing can be lost in translation because everybody's not the same, and especially after talking to you, like we've talked about this topic almost like on every podcast, and your kind of thing, like it's like your whole overall theme is that it's been infiltrated by the devil, right? And there's like even to the point where the Pope, you know, is a problem. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's just even in its own rights, it's just not even the same message, and it doesn't have to be. But I still I feel like that's the big reason why everybody's leaving, is because like there is no common. It's like the same thing with feminism. Like overall, it's generally good messages, but nobody can fucking, you know, articulate it correctly, and no one's on the same page. That's why everybody hates it. So I feel like it's a similar sort of thing. Like nobody has the same rhetoric, and the solutions don't really work.
Well, okay. So
it's frustrating.
This is when you view the Catholic Church as a human institution, which it is partly, but, and like, you know, with the devil coming in, whether it's in the Middle Ages, where there's a bunch of shit going on that was really bad, I don't think we need to get into that, or whether it's now, with all...
like to come knock on your door.
No, Henry VIII is not that bad.
Are you kidding me?
No, he's pretty bad, but...
I was about to say, you fucking...
No, I like him better than Martin Luther.
Who killed more people?
I fucking hate... Yeah, but who probably brought more people to hell?
Oh my god. Henry VIII is probably in hell.
Yeah, he... Well, yeah, I mean, he was excommunicated. For a good reason.
Good lord.
Right, because, like I was saying, without the knowledge and the actual teachings and the catechism of the Catholic Church, because a lot of Catholicism, like I was saying, is like people only understand it in like the lampoon, like post 1970s version of Catholicism. Because yes, if you're talking about that, yes, there's not a lot of wisdom. It is watered down. It is oversimplified. But when you go back into like, when you really study it in like the teachings of the early church, and even like the medieval church and the modern church, there's this concept of, well, obviously marriage, but also like Christ's marriage, and how Christ is married to the church. Like his bride is the church. And that's why, like, when you don't have that understanding of the church, it's okay to separate yourself from the church. But, you know, it's like, because I'd ask like another kind of like another Christian person, I'm like, well, is divorce okay? They'd be like, no. And I'm like, well, why is it not okay? And it's like, because you've gone all this way, and then like you just separate yourself, like you made the promise, and then you separated yourself from the bond of matrimony. I'm like, yes. So when you separate yourself from the sacraments and the Catholic Church, like you like it's that concept of divorce, because it's like, I talked about this on one of the early podcasts, how, you know, the teachings and the doctrine, it doesn't go from Abraham to Moses to all the prophets all the way to Jesus, and then Martin Luther, and then John Calvin, and then Henry VIII, or then whoever. It's like, no, it stops at Jesus. and there's nothing after that. Yes, he has, but that's why he has his apostles, because Jesus didn't just do it by himself, because he had his apostles afterwards to spread the news. And that's another kind of point that I must bring up too, which is the concept of like bishops, and why we need them, because the bishops are, you know, well, like moreover, like the descendants of the bishops, because the original 12 apostles had the laying of the hands on them by Peter, I believe, well, from the Holy Spirit to Peter to the 12, and all of the 12 did the same thing with the laying over the hands, come like the Holy Spirit coming over to them, and then on. That's why every single bishop has to have that, or else you are not a bishop. And even in the early church, there were other people that were like, no, we're the church. We're like the real true church. Like, listen to us. And you could tell who was and who wasn't based on the hand thing. And that's why the Orthodox Church is different than like Protestant churches, because the Orthodox Church still has bishops, and that's why they're in schism, as opposed to Protestant churches are reformed. But yeah.
Well, that's why I get confused, because like you always talk about like it stops and ends with Jesus, and like that's supposed to be the message. I get more of that message in like every Protestant church that I've been in more than any Catholic service that I've been in, because it's more about like the message and the teachings of Jesus and how that you can make that metaphor into your life. Minus Baptist churches, because those I think are just mainly political for fucking whatever reason.
But like I was saying, when it goes through Jesus, all church doctors and things like that, they use the teachings of Jesus and apply it to like why things in the church are the way they are, and it doesn't go because like Martin Luther is like, no, this is wrong, you need to do this, and it's like, but he separated himself from the church, who is Christ's bride. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, I guess I'm trying to find a way I can simplify this. So, let me start here. So, like, is the I don't. It's like are there different? Obviously, there's the King James Bible. Like, is it like it's the same Bible, right? So it's like
They're
most
not.
Protestant churches, and so because they're different Bibles in general.
They are different Bibles. That's another
Okay.
thing people don't realize.
Okay, so that's
Well,
problem number one.
exactly. That's another thing, because another people, um, a big thing people don't realize is that when they say like, oh, well, Martin Luther did a lot of good things, like he translated the Bible into the vernacular. It's like, well, he didn't do a good job of translating it. Number one, because he like he cut books out, and also he changed things to, and like he edited things to like fit his viewpoints of like only scripture, only faith, only whatever, all of these things.
So the Protestant Bible is a watered down version of the Catholic Bible, which is also a probably watered down version from an earlier Bible.
Well, there's a bunch of different translations of like the post like the post Luther thing. So like Luther made like Lutherans have their own Bible. It's like the Luther Bible, and that's
Yeah.
what he translated. But also like the King James Bible is, I'm pretty sure, more similar to that, because the biggest thing that separates them, not only just the bad translation, is the actual number of books. Because all Protestant books, all Protestant Bibles leave out 5 books. I don't remember which ones they were specifically, but they do leave them out, because in the Protestant Bible there's 66 books, and in the Catholic Bible there's 72. No, so I think 6 books. Yeah.
I'm trying to think because this is
But I think people enjoy the King James Bible more for the actual language that is used, because it's really pretty, and it sounds very classical.
So the Roman Catholic Bible says that it has 73 books. God damn it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 73. And then the Protestant
Protestant
Bibles have
Bible is
66.
66.
Yeah.
39 books from the Old Testament and 27 from the New Testament.
Right. But going back to the Martin Luther thing, the concept of Catholicism is that truth is not something that just exists in your head and you get to decide what it is. Truth is the idea that, well, obviously that it's Jesus, but like truth is something that you discover over time, right?
Honestly, to me, truth is just the majority of people that believe something, regardless if it's right or not. I don't think there. I mean, to me, I don't think there are easy objective truths and there are subjective truths. And I don't know. I'm at the point where it's like I do things in my life, and if it works, then I keep it, and if it doesn't work, I keep changing until it works. I'm not after this quest of like what's actually true, because I don't think we're ever gonna get to that kind of point. I think that like there's too many people, there's too many different ideas, there's too much corruption, there's too much bullshit, like there's just too much, and I think like you'll drive yourself insane trying to figure out what's actually true. So I think this is the aspect of faith that I do like, and I extend this to everybody, whatever the fuck you believe in, if you don't fucking harm other people. I mean, I'm very libertarian about that idea, so it's like I think you should believe in something that has a good course for your life, or that gives you purpose, or makes you happy, or keeps you from killing somebody. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you have to have that, whatever that thing is. I think that's your truth, right? So it's like it doesn't have to be my truth, and it doesn't have to be anyone else's truth.
No, it has to be the truth that says we're saying this podcast right now. I know many people have views and things like that, but what I was trying to say is that Catholicism is basically just there is no view, there is Jesus, and you need to follow him. And that's why like any corruption, any bad thing you see in the world is just all from a lack of seeing that and recognizing that.
So do you think that Protestants have a different view of Jesus than Catholics do?
Oh, I definitely think they do.
I mean, this is because I'm not. I mean, I have a general vague idea of what Jesus is supposed to be and the general gist of his message, right? And I under like the concept of him dying on the cross and the Holy Trinity is pretty much the same. Like I don't think that's a point that's different. I think the Eucharist is the biggest different point, but like what is the biggest difference, if you know, and you don't have to get into it, between like the Protestant Jesus and the Catholic Jesus? Like what is the difference?
It's the Eucharist, and
So that's the only thing?
It's well, it's not the only thing, but it's the most important thing. But
So,
also
the teachings of Jesus, though, so it's like specifically like his message, like, you know, like the general shit that people can get behind, right? Like
the Catholic understanding of Jesus is like, yes, it is right because Jesus said it, but you do actually do like you can use your human reasoning to understand why it is correct, you know, as opposed to like the Protestant view of Jesus is just, oh, Jesus said it's right. Well, how do you know? I don't know. Jesus said it. You see what I'm saying?
So,
where like, you know, you can use your human reasoning to understand like, yeah, loving one another is a really good thing, or like, yeah, do unto others as they do to you, and then and stuff like that. Like you can use your intellect to know why that is morally right.
I'm struggling to find like a like, because like the whole
Well,
point is it's the same to me. Like the whole point, like there's a bunch of just different iterations of the same thing. Because like,
well, I mean, I just
don't
explained.
see Jesus as such a different figure. Like you don't have to be a fucking, like you don't have to be a goddamn. You don't have to use like your unscholarly human reasoning to like get the morals and messages behind the stories. I mean, obviously,
but
spiritually,
you still can.
Well, spiritually, I agree, sure. Theologically, sure, but like all the general stories and like, you know, like the Ten Commandments stuff, obviously that was way before his time, but like just that general message of it, I don't think is super difficult to understand. I don't think you need to have
right. And I'm not saying that like Protestants don't believe in Jesus. Like it is Jesus. Like don't get me wrong. Like they are.
My point is like it's when I was growing up, that was the whole entire point of it. It was like the teachings of Jesus. It wasn't like I mean, my church wasn't political. Like they never talked about anything political. It was always just metaphors of the Holy Spirit and God and like the teachings of Jesus and how that correlates into regular people's lives. Like that's literally all it was. There wasn't like specific, obviously they told the same story. Well, not the same stories, but like obviously like the resurrection, his birth, like all the regular shit, right? But like when it came to actually like every Sunday, it was always some metaphor that was parallel to a teaching of Jesus or a Bible story. Like it wasn't like a specific ritual or besides communion, or it wasn't like a specific thing you had to sing. Like that's what it was. So like to me in my head, that was just purely the teachings of Jesus. It wasn't like a Protestant doctrine or Protestant dogma, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, but when you don't have, well, not just the Eucharist, but all of the sacraments, then like it's essentially just a Bible study.
It's what it felt like, but what I'm saying is like,
Right, but like there's
really
just
that different.
Well,
Besides
yes,
the
because
major
you
thing.
well, yes, because you don't have the Eucharist, which if you don't eat, then you don't have eternal life.
Yeah, I mean, but the concept
No,
was
but
just
you are
they
not.
still had communion. Like it was still the same type of spirit. It was the
Yes,
same type
but
of
it's not.
symbolism.
But it's not Jesus. It's not actually Jesus, though. You see what I'm saying? Whereas, like in Catholicism, it is Jesus that we're eating.
No, I get that I get why it's different. What I'm saying is like it's the symbolism is the same. Like so the
But
people
it's
that
not okay. But the Eucharist is not symbolism. Like it is Jesus. So, well, do you believe it's real, or do you believe it's not real?
I don't know. I'm just looking at it objectively. Objectively is literally the same symbolism, but like if you believe in the Eucharist and that's literally Jesus you're consuming, people that are not Catholic also believe that same sort of thing. That they tell me all the time, like this is Jesus who I'm consuming. They don't. I am just classifying it as symbolism because it's to me it's symbolism. That's what it represents. To them, it's the same thing as Catholics. That's what my point. Catholics just believe that it is literally they're the ones that truly is the Eucharist and that they're eating it. But so do Protestants. It's just that's what I'm saying. It's the same shit, just in different contexts and different ideologies. That's my whole
Oh.
entire point.
Yeah, but Protestants very much do not believe that that is Jesus because they think the whole point, like hocus pocus, that's a very anti-Catholic phrase because like hocus corpus meum is like the Latin phrase for this is my body because they're making fun of it and going like, oh, it's magic, he can turn the bread into Jesus's body because like they think that that's like superstition and stuff like that.
I'm
But
telling you, it wasn't like that. Like if you ask my parents right now, like what communion it is, and they said it is the body of Christ and the blood of Christ, like they literally will tell you that. It's not like a silly hocus pocus thing. That's like truly what they believe.
right, but
Like
do
I'm
they
not making that
believe?
up.
But do they believe that Methodist communion is Jesus?
Yeah.
But it
It's
isn't.
literally they literally say they literally say it is this is the body of Christ and this is the blood of Christ given to you. It's literally they believe that they're taking Jesus into their soul or their
Oh,
body or whatever the fuck.
they're not. I'm sorry.
Well, what I'm saying is they think that that's what they're doing in the
It
Catholic.
doesn't matter if they think it or not. It's not.
That's my point. But you can't tell me the symbolism is not the same. It literally
It's
is the same
not
premise.
symbolism. The Eucharist
It's the same.
is
It's the
not.
same ritual. It's the same ritual. It's literally
No,
the
it is
same ritual.
not because they don't have a properly ordained priest with, like I was talking about, the hands with the coming of the Holy Spirit. And when you don't have that, there's no transfiguration that takes place.
No, I get that you don't think it's an official form of communion. What I'm saying is like that symbolism is literally the same.
Yes, but it is. My ultimate point is that it is not Jesus, though. And if there's a way that this is real, which there is, like I just explained, then you have to like I don't see how you can believe in all of these teachings of Jesus and what he says and what is in the Bible and not and not want to participate and take part in the mystical body of Christ.
Because people think that they're actually. I'm telling you for a fact, people believe that's what they're doing. They don't
But
have that
it
under Catholic
isn't.
raise. And also, a lot of people that were Protestant were once Catholic. And
Yes, but do you see what I'm saying? Is that even if they think it is, it isn't.
no, I understand that. I get that you don't believe that anything other than Catholic communion isn't real. I understand that point.
Orthodox communion is real.
Or whatever whatever you outside of your realm.
Right.
that you don't think is real. What I'm saying is those people think it's real. So if you think that they're all objectively wrong, that's fine. But what I'm saying is like those people think it's real, and to me, the symbolism is exactly the same. So that's why I think like people. That's why I think a lot of people just left the Catholic Church in general, because of, like, they just got stuck with like the rules that they had to follow, and like it's like I said, it's the same. Like to me in my head it doesn't make sense where it's like if somebody believes in the message of Jesus and they believe that they're taking his body and his blood in whatever form of communion, like, and how if it's not actually real because it's not ordained by a priest, if that's the only caveat, you know what I mean? Like it just seems like it just seems non sequitur to me.
Well, the biggest reason that they leave the church is because they don't understand why these things are the way they are. And like you said, following the teachings of Jesus Christ, when you do that, you eventually come to the point that, yes, I need to receive proper communion. Because it comes down to, like, is it real or is it not? And, like, I don't like how in certain things they're talking about the faith, like, not from, obviously the perspective of the faith, they're like, for Catholics, Jesus, and I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's for Catholics or not, like, either he's there or he's not, like, like, that's why there's rules about, like, who can receive communion, you know, because if this is real, you really need to take it seriously.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that our past is so fucking like it's so shrouded in mystery and it's hard to even prove who said what. Like that's why I think people lose that kind of grasp. So it's like so they're like, well, what if that part isn't real? So it's like how we specifically know? Just not even on a spiritual level, because that takes faith to believe, but just on a human level, like where did this come from? So I think that's the part that people can't accept, is that like the fact that there's this over mystical rule that seems to only be placed in very specific passages of the Catholic Church on a human level, that it just is like, why does it have to be this way? And like, what is like the actual reason? Like there's a spiritual reason that they gave you, but what is like there was a time before that, right? So it's like,
well, and I understand that, like, it can be confusing, and does make sense to, like, want to ask questions like this because they're important. But they aren't the ones who gave it to you. Jesus is the one who gave it to us at the Last Supper.
so what specifically did he say that's saying that you can only be ordained by a Catholic priest to accept my communion, when he had a bunch of people at the table and his message was for everybody? To me, that was his message, was that all are welcome at my table.
Yes, but there's a very big difference between everyone is welcome and everyone is welcome under Christ. And it's like Jesus
That's what I'm
didn't.
saying. What did he say that was
No.
differentiated?
Well, he says in the Bible, like, this is my body,
Right.
and if you don't eat it, then you don't have eternal life. So if you don't receive his actual physical body, which you don't get in all of these Protestant churches, then you aren't partaking in the mystical body of Christ, and you're not unified together, and you're not at his table, because he's
Okay,
not
so
there at
I
the
want to
at
break
the
this
at the
down.
Protestant
So it's
churches.
like, okay, so going on the Last Supper, you said if you don't eat from my table or you don't take me as communion, then you're not gonna, what you just said, right? Where did that go to? That has to be done by a Catholic priest, or that has to be done that way? Like where did that start?
Because it goes off of what Jesus did and what he gave the apostles.
Which is what? That's what I'm like. What was the thing that solidified that's how it has to be done? If Jesus said, if you don't
Because I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're good. I'm very curious to know, because
It's because, like I explained earlier, all of the stuff when it comes to the sacraments comes down to these are things that Jesus instituted, and they came down through him, like, through the Holy Spirit. One, the Holy Spirit is God in the way that Jesus is God, and he gave communion to the apostles.
right,
He gave himself up at the Last Supper,
right.
and the apostles continued to do that. You see what I'm saying? Under the Holy Spirit and under, like, the hands and the coming down of the Holy Spirit, and they gave the Eucharist to everyone else, and then the people that came after them and after them and after them, and see, like that. And like I was explaining, even in the early church, and even like the early Christians, there were people that were like, they were false teachers, they were false priests, like parading around like, hey guys, we're the real church, listen to us. And it's like, we know that they weren't, because they didn't have the apostolic, laying down of hands with the giving of communion. And it's
Right,
like
the apostles weren't Catholic though. That's what I'm saying. Like, where did that come
yes,
down
they
the
were,
line?
because the Catholic Church is the descendants of the apostles, if you see what I'm saying. All of the bishops are a descendant of one of the apostles.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, context from Jesus' time, he made the thing about communion and then passed it down to the apostles. Where did it start that they were the only ones that were allowed to do that? That's what I'm saying, because Jesus himself didn't say that. You're just saying, you're using it as a metaphor because the apostles received the communion from Christ, that they're the only ones and the descendants of them, or the Catholic Church, or the apostles are the descendants of the Catholic Church. So it's like, nowhere, like, who specifically said that they're the only ones that were allowed to, like, give communion? Like, where, like, is it a thing?
Jesus, he does not explicitly say this, but
That's
he kind of just
saying. So
no, but he left it. No, but it's
that. Who said that? Who explicitly said that?
No, but this is assumed, is what I'm telling you.
What?
Like, it is assumed. Yes, like, it's assumed
so
that, like,
all this is basic on an assumption.
Well, no, the teaching that it has to be this and this and that, we slowly arrive at that conclusion over time, based on, like, what was practiced in the early church and what is still practiced today.
Okay, so
there's several things
that says it.
No, there's not. And there's tons of things.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Right, I'm sorry. But, like, there's tons of things in the Bible that aren't explicitly said, like the Trinity,
That's my whole point. That's my whole entire point of why there's so many interpretations, because there's nothing explicitly said. It's everybody's assumption. Like you just said, it's everybody's assumption of what it's supposed to be. That's my whole entire point.
Because when you
That's what you just said. It's the assumption.
No, it's not. Yes, but not everything is an assumption. I mean, obviously, like, yes, you need to, like,
communion.
No, because you look at what the apostles did and what was done right after them and after them and after them, and to what is still being done now. And if you don't do that, because, like I said, Jesus said, if you don't eat my body and drink my blood, then you don't have eternal life.
That just means to me that if you don't accept communion or you don't accept Jesus into your soul, then you're not, like, that's the whole message, right?
Yes, but then why did the apostles travel the world bringing the Eucharist to everybody?
To spread that message. There's just, to me, it's just different. That's why I'm saying it's the same symbolism, because, like, the only difference is Martin Luther didn't like the shit the Catholic Church was doing, so that's why he reformed it. So it's like, that's why I'm saying communion is literally the same symbolism as accepting Jesus Christ into your heart and soul via communion, just like the apostles got and just like they were spreading the word to. That's what I'm saying. It's the same.
But no, it isn't. And I'm going to ask you this once again. Do you believe that the Eucharist is Jesus, or do you not believe that the Eucharist is Jesus?
I don't know if the shit actually happened. Like, I don't know. I'm agnostic to it. So, like, let's say, like, I think there is a higher power, but let's say that it was, and, like, Jesus is the Son of God, and if I was taking communion, then I would accept that it would be literally Jesus, and if that makes me Catholic, then sure, but just because if I don't receive communion from a Catholic, then it's not real. That's the part that I think is dumb, because it's a symbolism. You can use that for a metaphor for anything. If you, whatever it is you're doing, like, if you accept anything as Jesus, like, let's say it's like, if he is God and then God made himself in our image, or if God is everywhere, if God speaks to you, so, like, if you're doing something under that veil, then that is Jesus, right? So it's like, if you're literally taking bread and taking wine as a communion, that you are accepting Jesus, and if I did believe that, then yes, I would believe that that's Jesus. But the fact that that's true doesn't make me Catholic, but it doesn't go the other way around. You get what I'm saying?
Well, yes, but if it's not actually there, because, like I said, it either is or it isn't. I understand how, like, you can maybe be like, I don't know, but, like,
what I'm saying is, like, if I do, okay, so let's just make it simple. So, like, let's say I'm not agnostic, and like I said, at one point I was religious. So yes, I believe, me personally, I believe that was actually Jesus that I was taking for communion. Later in life, I just understood it as a symbolism for communion. So it's like, this is the sacrifice that he made, and that's what that's what symbolism is. Like, it's a meaning that we're attaching to something, because literally what you're doing. It's a ritual, right? So, but yes, I did believe that.
And if that's not actually Jesus, then what is the point of like going to church then?
What I'm saying is like when I was religious and taking communion, I did believe that was Jesus. I didn't. I only
Yes, but
recently
like
thinking it's a metaphor now because you know what I mean. To me, it is a
yes, but
metaphor.
if it's a metaphor now, then what is
I
the
would have
point
felt
of
the
going to
same way if I was
church?
in like it would. I probably would have
No,
left
you
sooner if I was a
wouldn't. I am
Catholic.
telling you, no, you wouldn't, because when you don't actually believe, when you think it's a metaphor, then
I
it's no
didn't. But that's what
different
I'm
than
telling you. I didn't think it was a metaphor. I just over time
yes, but
just
over
can.
time, so like at this like yeah, so now over time when you think it's a metaphor, there is no reason for you to go to church anymore. But when you have the understanding that it is Jesus, you're like, "Oh shit, no, I need to go to mass like every Sunday because I need to receive Jesus as much as I can." And that's why like it's like you can't just watch mass like, and this is something that the pandemic really fucking ruined, and like it really distorted people's like everything is like you like watching mass on a live stream is nothing like actually being in a mass and receiving the sacrament. Because like yes, you get part of it, you do hear the gospel, that's part of it, but you don't take you don't actually complete it, you know?
Well, let me reiterate something. So it's like there is a bunch of other reasons why. Like I mean, it's just the nature of being skeptical. I don't think it would have mattered what fucking if I would have been Muslim, Mormon, Catholic. I don't think it would have mattered. I was just naturally skeptical, right? But what I'm telling you is like the fact of it being a metaphor did not make me fucking leave the church. And really, it's not like I just left the church. Like even like when I was questioning shit, I always like was part of it and
That's not
doing
what I'm
stuff.
saying you did.
What I'm saying is like when I was religious, that was what I believed. Like I didn't think it was a metaphor. Like that didn't even cross my mind. Like that's literally what I believed.
Right, and I see that, but
So that's what I'm saying. And if it's not explicitly something that Jesus said, and if it's supposed to be the teachings of Jesus, but it's just because for who like there had to be someone that's like this just develop over time. Like there had to have been
well, it
one
did.
person or a
But
couple people to come up with that thing that like only Catholic priests are allowed to give communion for it to be considered real. That had to come from somewhere. They didn't just magically appear out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
well, the understanding of like the idea of like oh only Catholic priests can it's like well Catholic priests as opposed to what priest a Protestant minister Protestant priest it's like well there was no Protestantism up until Martin Luther, so at that point like before the year 1054 everyone was Catholic, and before Martin Luther everyone in Europe was Catholic.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So why was it after when Protestants came around, why was it the thing that like it was because they just hated them so much? Like, all right, you're not allowed to give communion. You're not real sect of Christianity because they were so mad at them. But like people died and fought wars over this shit, right? That's what
Yes.
that to me. That's what makes sense. So it's like they're so pissed off at that back in the day it made sense. Like you guys aren't real Christians. You cannot receive communion. That to me that makes the most sense. But before then, who gave a fuck if you're because there's no differentiation. So it's like if you just accepted the message of
Well,
Jesus,
yes,
then you're
because
fine.
everyone yes, but everyone was Catholic.
But
There was
that's
no
my point.
differentiation between the term. Like, but like there
That
was no differentiation between the sects, and everyone was Catholic. There's
that's
a
my
big
whole
difference.
entire point. That's why it's literally the same thing.
No, but there's a big difference between like, oh, this church is like these people separated themselves from the church, and it's a new church, and now there's two churches. It's like, no, they were this church, and it's just like there is this church, and then there is people that think they're the church. There's no such thing as two churches. If
But
you
that's
see
my
what I'm
whole point.
saying.
Communion was around before there was a differentiation.
Well,
So like
right,
there
because
never
there
would have
is
been a need to differentiate it because
well,
you understand the message you're taking in like that is literally Jesus that you're consuming through communion, right? That is the whole entire point. It
yes,
wasn't
because you're
until
in the
back in that
church.
time that they differentiated it.
Wait, because you're in the church, and there is only one church. And if there is only one church, then like like yeah, exactly. Like no one, like everyone received it. Obviously, you still needed to like participate in the sacraments and be able to like be like ready and prepared to receive it. But it wasn't until the Protestants came around that were like, we're the new church. And obviously, like I said, they're not churches because they don't have the sacraments. And there's no such thing as two churches. Like the church is not something that you can reform or like split and be like, we're the new church. It's like the church is like it's not just like the people, like it's the actual like institution itself is holy. And that's why like, when we say it in the Apostles' Creed, like I believe in one holy Catholic apostolic church, it's not referring to like holy the actual people that make it up. I mean, we hope they are, but a lot of them, have proved otherwise and they're like not good, but the actual institution itself was put here by God and it's holy. You see?
Right, and that's why I think the only differentiation is because it was such a big problem that they fucking had this gigantic split and then formed into another sect because, again, it was just purely a fucking political thing. So it's like it had nothing to do with the actual message of Jesus. Like, I think you can, like, I think it's not like an out of bounds step to think that you can believe in the message of Jesus and just happen to be part of one sect or the other, right? So it's like, if you went back in time and, like, told Jesus, like, these two people believe that they are literally consuming you through communion, but one is Catholic, so it's real, and the other one isn't Catholic, so it isn't real, I think that would just be, like, absurd to say that to him. You know what I mean? Like, that, like, it just, for his whole entire message of, like, come to my table, all is welcome.
Here's what I'm saying.
Like, would you go back in time and tell him that?
All is welcome means that everyone is united under the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, and not through like, oh, we believe in different things, but it's fine. Like there's a big difference between that.
My point is the only reason they believe in different things is purely political. So like,
right, and that's bad. And the reason you don't do that is because you need to be unified. Because when all of these other like sects, like you said, say like, oh, well, like, these people are creating all the institutions, these people are ruining everything. It's like, no, we can just come together and we can work this out,
I don't think anybody's going to work anything out. I think it's going to be my way or the highway kind of a thing. It's unfortunate.
Well, exactly, but the church is not, this is our way, this is God's way, if you see what I'm saying.
I don't know, just based on what you said, like, it's just, that's the assumption, because that's the only thing that was around back in that time, and, like, there's no explicitly, like, said things from Jesus. It's just because this is just how it's been passed down kind of thing. I don't...
Remember how I told you that there was false Christians from even the time of the apostles, and false bishops confessing that they were the true church.
Right, so nothing's changed. History's proven we make the same mistakes over and over again. Like, it doesn't... Right. It means the same thing to me. It all means, like, if you don't accept the true message, then you're the false Christian. It doesn't matter what fucking other bullshit you believe. Like, if you don't accept the true message of Jesus, then you're the false Christian. That, to me, that's... If you accept communion and you are of good moral character and you believe all the same shit, minus, being the official word of God as being a Catholic, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it matters.
There's a difference between if you don't accept the truth, that is my truth, is very different than you don't accept the truth that is God's truth. But I do see what you're saying.
But what you're saying, you say yourself, that it's an assumption that that's God's truth. It's nowhere explicitly stated.
Well, no, so, but that's where the faith comes in. Like, faith is required. You do need the deposit of faith.
But that's my whole entire point. Everybody's idea of faith is different. Like, you have to have faith to believe in anything.
All right, but it doesn't, like, just because ideas are different, like, doesn't mean that they're all right.
That's my whole entire point.
Yes, but then, like, only one's right. Like, so that's why we got to figure out which one's the right one.
That's what I'm saying. You can't definitely, like, you don't know that for sure. Like, there's nothing explicit that says that. You have to have faith to believe it. Like, there's no definitive thing that says that there's only one way to interpret this, or there's only one people that can accept communion. You have to just have faith and believe that. But there's nothing explicitly in the Bible that says that. There's nothing explicitly that Jesus said that. He just said, "Oh, welcome to my table," and that's what's your interpretation of what that means.
Well, no, it is not my interpretation. Like I said, this is the teaching of the church, which the leader of the church is Jesus. It is God's church, because he founded it. And so, what was the other thing you said? Which
There's
I'm
nothing
blanking right now.
definitive. There's like
Oh
there's
yeah, that. So no, there's nothing empirical about it, but there's multiple different like sources to back me up, like the Bible, the Magisterium, multiple different philosophical and metaphysical subtleties to help you slowly realize, like, yeah, I can get the gist of it. And when you don't have that, you don't have anything backing you up, other than the fact that, oh, you can't really prove it. So, therefore, you know. But it's the same thing with saying that science proves everything. It's a metaphysical claim, and you're using a metaphysical claim to prove something that in this eye isn't metaphysical.
So that's, I mean, because like there's a lot of people that are gonna listen to this and be like, well, that's the whole entire point of why, like religion versus science in the first place, right? It takes faith to believe it, or it's like, the science prove everything or disprove everything, blah 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 blah. But when you just can't even have that own like definitive proof within like your own religion, I think that's like where the major problem is, because like it's not even someone that's like an atheist trying to disprove God or trying to just disprove everything that a religion is teaching. It's like a whole entire like it's a whole fucking schism within itself.
Well, I mean, the Bible, the Magisterium, and the history of the church, the fact that how big the church is, how global it is proof enough for me that it's like it's like the right one.
So is Islam.
Like I said, it's
fucking prevalent among everywhere.
It's not as big as Christianity.
Isn't Islam bigger than Catholicism right now, or Christianity?
No, it is not. But a lot of people are saying it's on pace to be.
Interesting. So,
but it's also
more
like
people than Catholic, then they're going to be right. So,
well, no, I meant
truth is the most amount of people that believe something.
Well, I meant more so like in terms of like I said, I don't like to talk about it. Like in terms of like the sex of Christianity, it's like you can use multiple things. Like, well, this was the first one. It's the biggest one. It's the most global. It's the most like trans-ethnic one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and
I think
also
it's a
like
very American thing to be different. I mean, you think I don't even know, like, because I guess it depends on the region that you're from, because I feel like Catholicism was dominant. It's dominant in American politics for sure. Like anybody that's highly religious, a lot of them are Catholic.
I mean, I don't really
it's
know,
almost,
but
to me, it's almost like anti-American if you really want to think about it. Like not in the modern context, but back in the day, like this is how this country was started. Because like you remember that joke I was telling you, with like everybody's always citing the founding fathers, and they're like, "What do you mean there's Catholics in the Supreme Court?"
Well, right, but also that's why that disproves the idea of Catholicism being like evil, white, and institutionalist. Because it's like if you were a Catholic in England, and even like to America to a much lesser degree, like you were a second-class citizen. Like Catholicism didn't really come to America until like immigrants from like Ireland and Italy and Poland came over in like the late 19th and like early 20th century and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you can't really. I mean, the British Empire pretty much swallowed a lot of the world under a Catholic guise. Like, I mean, you can't. I mean, that's why like the majority of other places in the world are Catholic. You know what I mean? Like a lot of places.
No, but places that were conquered by England are very not Catholic, actually. Like they're like
the whole entire point.
Oh, but I thought you were saying that like that's like England is why most of the world is Catholic.
No. What I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I heard you wrong. I'm sorry.
No, my point is that you said like you just said like institutionally like that being different from the American, or like just from the American Revolution, but no, that's just one part. Like the fucking.
Well, okay. What I was really referring to is like because in like the modern lampoon post 1970s view of Catholicism is that Catholicism is just a bunch of like it's just a bunch of old, ugly, annoying, gross, creepy white people that make rules because they're not, they're not pretty enough, they're not strong enough, they're not whatever enough to do all these things that all these other people want to do. So we're going to make rules to stop them from doing this. And also like
that's more revisionist shit. I'm talking about like the whole entire start of this country was an blatant escape from Catholicism and its empirical rule.
Well, no, it was an escape from the Church of England.
Which was Catholic.
It was not. That was after Henry VIII.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm very sure. Well, English culture, a big thing that defines like English and Anglo culture is like a distaste for Catholicism. So that's why like in American universities for a while, like if you were Catholic, like you weren't allowed to attend like Harvard and Yale and all that stuff. And like you weren't allowed in certain social clubs and stuff like that. And depending on where you lived, like certain states in America, I know, had laws where like you had to pay money to the state religion, so that if you were Catholic, you were paying money to like a church that you didn't support.
Right.
But no, England was Protestant at that point.
Where did this... Man, it's been so long since I fucking... Oh, it's taking history. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh no, England had already departed of... The whole point of England is departure from Catholicism.
What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of, what the fuck am I thinking of? I mean, obviously, the whole fucking point was being a separate thing and not wanting to be taxed. Like, that was also a big deal. But I swear to God, there's some religious thing, too.
Well, I got the Puritans, I mean, they obviously like wanted religious freedom, and that's the biggest reason why they left.
I think that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of those.
Well, right, because they were just... Right, because they were just kind of looked down upon.
Because they were persecuted in England. That's why they came over here. Well,
they were, yeah, because like there was laws in England, I know, like where you had to attend, like I don't know if it was mass, but it was like you had to attend the Church of England, and if you didn't, then you would be taxed.
Okay.
Yes, and they were like, well, we don't want to go to the Church of England. We want to go to our own thing, and they're like, yeah, we may as well just leave. So no, America is very much founded on we don't want all of these things that you guys are telling us to do, so we're leaving.
Which is a very American ideal.
Right, that is a very American ideal.
I don't know why I thought it was specifically fuck. History's really fuzzy right there.
Well, the Anglican Church is like similar to Catholicism, but it's not. It's kind of complicated.
Protestant.
Well, yeah, it's Protestant because in the early Anglican Church, it was like, with Henry VIII, he was like, I am separating from the Church, and I am going to make the Church of England. Instead of the Pope being the head of the Church of England.
Oh, right, because he wanted to fucking divorce his wife. Okay.
Right, yeah, because the Pope wouldn't let him. So then he's like, all right, so I'm going to make the Church of England, and then the King of England is going to be the head of the church. So in like the early church, like he still had something like it was a mass. It had all the sacraments and all the things. Like it was essentially like the same thing, just with no Pope and divorce. But like over time, things got different and stuff like that because they didn't have the guidance of like the Pope.
I completely forgot that was like one of his main motives.
Yeah, he's like
so much.
Yeah, he's like I want a new. Well, also because like his wife wasn't giving him a son because like, he wanted a son.
Yeah, I remember that was
and he's like,
funny.
Hey Pope, I want to get a new wife, and the Pope's like, nah. Yeah.
That totally was a thing.
Well, it was.
Dude, I completely forgot about that backwards. I thought it was the other way around. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, really?
Yes, I don't know why. Fuck, man.
Yeah, bro.
Okay, never mind.
The Pope wants to get a divorce, and then Henry VIII's like, nah.
No. I forgot that. I thought he was. I thought he was Protestant, switched to Catholic. I don't know why it was backwards in my head.
Oh no, he created Protestantism.
No, I forgot about that because he wanted to divorce. Okay, this is all coming back to me now.
Right. Well, there's like that kind of Protestantism, and then there's the Lutheran style of Catholicism.
I don't know anything about Lutheranism. I just know that it's prevalent in the Midwest.
Not like specifically Lutheranism, like the denomination we hear about, but more just the actual like teachings of Martin Luther and John Calvin and their kind of understanding of theology is very prevalent in like the majority of Protestant churches today, like in like Presbyterian, Baptist, anything like that. That's going to be pretty like Lutheran and Calvinist in there. Nah, more so Luther, not as much Calvin, because Calvinist is like a kind of theology, but it's going to be more attuned to like Martin Luther's teachings in the sense that like they believe in like sola scriptura, sola fide, solus Christus, I think, and like all these things which mean like only this or like only this. It's like sola scriptura is the idea. What it means only scripture, you know. So he's saying like only the Bible can tell you what how things are. You, like the priest, it doesn't matter what he says it means. You read it for yourself, you know.
I know
And
one
that's
of the biggest reasons that they kind of differentiated between those two was like basically they're obviously the 95 reasons or the 95 fucking doctrine thing.
yeah, the 95 Theses.
Yeah. So like I know like the general premise was like they viewed Catholicism as like you're buying your way into heaven kind of thing. It was more of the focus on the material than the spiritual. I think was their biggest criticism, if I'm remembering right.
That's part of it because um half of the theses the Pope did. He was like, yeah, that's bad. We should stop doing that. And then half of them, well, because yeah, half of them were like that, critiquing actual ways in which they were going about their business, as opposed to the other half were like doctrinal things. Were like, no, Martin Luther, we're not changing that. Like
Yeah.
the litany of the saints, we're like, no, we're not changing that. Sorry.
That brings me to another thing. This can be I don't know if you get exhausted going on this topic, for I just find it interesting.
Right.
Was the concept of money, because money I think is the biggest other reason, and I think like I was saying before, of like the whole fucking like televangelists fucking flying around in jets and Gucci suits and shit like is a big problem.
Right.
So,
I know that is. Yeah.
But to me, I've always had this opinion too, when it comes to like taxes in churches, and this is interesting because like I fucking hate the government and I hate that our taxes are wasted, and I hate having to pay 30% of my income, also pay property tax, and also have a sales tax on the stuff that I buy from my already taxed money. It's a stupid fucking scam.
It's stealing. I'm sorry, but
However,
yeah.
I don't think if you're a church that doesn't do any sort of like humanitarian work, I don't think you should have a religious exemption. I think you should still be taxed.
Well, I agree with you. Like, yeah, like you shouldn't. And this is something like my dad actually worked in when he was in the Department of Labor about certain laws about religious exemptions. You know, when it comes to like like vaccine or all these other different things, and like what constitutes a religious exemption.
I'm sure it's a massive fucking gray area.
Right, and that's why he had a bunch of meetings about this kind of stuff. But no, I agree with you. Like if you aren't actually doing any of these, if you're not actually providing any of these services, then I don't really see why you should be taxing them.
Yeah. My favorite meme is the fucking Joel Osteen, however the fuck you say his stupid name. You hear about that shit?
Is that the guy who like used the donation money or something to buy like a private jet?
Well, all those guys fucking do that, dude. I'm telling you,
I don't know.
You have to go on YouTube and talk about like there's a couple of these guys explaining how like Jesus wouldn't fly commercial. Dude, it's so fucking funny.
I would have been like, okay, this is proof that you don't understand.
They literally tell people they're raising money to buy a new fucking jet, and this is to spread the word. Like,
right.
They're not like they're literally like people are donating for that reason. It's just insane to me. But anyway, what I was gonna say.
You haven't even got to the main thing.
Joel Osteen,
there's so much shit, man.
Hurricane, what was it? The big hurricane in Houston a couple years ago. Not Irma.
Oh,
it was in Florida.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't remember
where he
the name, but
up
yeah,
the church and he wasn't housing people.
Really?
Yeah, and so people kept making the meme where it's like, "Get the fuck off my ark," and it's like his picture on it.
Oh, really?
Dude, it was so fucking funny. He got so much shit for that too. He's like I say, he's one of those like fucking TV speaking megachurch retards that sells a book and shit.
Yeah, it's proof that they don't understand the teachings of Jesus. Because like the guy who said that Jesus wouldn't fly commercially, it's like, well, yeah, he probably would, or he probably wouldn't have flown on a plane at all because he literally rode into Jerusalem on a donkey with his like rags, you know.
And I don't know, because like It's really weird because like there's a lot of people, and I think again, why I think it's like half political because like back when I was growing up, like I felt like being humble and being frugal was like kind of a virtue. Like that was not something that's explicitly was said, but like that's kind of like, or like you're charitable, right? So it's like you, the whole point is you go out of your way for other people, like turn the other cheek, or just
Yeah.
love thy neighbor kind of thing. But I think now it's, and I don't know if this is like because of the age of Trump or if this has been a growing American sentiment that's kind of creeped its way into religion. But it's like a lot of people that I talk to have this premise that like Jesus wants you to be rich. Like it's like that hustler mindset, and it's like like you see like a lot of these mega churches preach, it's like they promise people like riches, and like if you donate, and like Jesus is going to bring you, it's like a multi-level marketing kind of mindset. It's kind of creeped its way in because now a lot of people I talk to like, oh, Jesus would have a nice car, he wouldn't be he would be flashy with things, like he wants you to be rich, he wants you to live a good life. Like that's a sentiment that's now prevalent, and it's very strange.
Right. Well, when you're saying it's like Jesus wants you to be rich to buy a car, it's like, well, no. Jesus wants you to. If Jesus wants you to be rich, he wants you to be rich so you can give your family a good life. Because there's a difference between like someone who is rich and they spend all their money on like a house, a car, and all this stuff, and they're single, as opposed to someone who like they're like, I'm rich because I want to have lots of kids and grow this community stronger and bigger.
This is purely an American consumer, like buy. It's like like Jesus wants you to play the lottery. You might win if you pray hard enough, kind of shit. Like what I mean? Like, it's
Is
just
this real?
fucking yes. I'm not joking. This is
This
a
is
new.
real, man.
Look it
What?
up, dude. I'm telling you, you're so
Jesus
funny.
wants you to buy buy a
No,
lottery ticket.
that was a fucking joke. I'm not. I mean, some retard probably has said that somewhere, but like it's what I'm saying is the mindset is that American consumer like it's what they preach. These pastors fly around in jets and wear fucking Gucci. Like they wear night. Like it's like the Mansa Musa. They're on tour kind of shit. Like you donate shit tons of money to a mega fucking organization that's not taxed. And it's
Yeah,
just the whole thing is like if you accept
What?
Jesus into your heart, your life will be fulfilled and have riches. Like they don't explicitly say that, but that's like the overall theme. Like that's what they're being showed. It feels like they're on a fucking like they're on Oprah or something. It's very, very fucking surreal. And it's the same thing that those multi-level marketing guys do. So it's like, oh, you have to spend some money if you want to make some. But if you didn't succeed, you didn't try hard enough, you didn't pray hard enough. You know what I mean? It's that same kind of shit where it's like the law of attraction. So it's like if you will it into existence, you can have all the stuff in your life. If nothing ever works out, it's because you have a negative attitude, which is true to some degree. But again, it's like, you don't get you're not a billionaire by having a positive attitude just solely. Like it's a stupid fucking
No.
American concept.
Right, but it's so funny though because like only this kind of shit that you can't make up, like only this can happen in America. Like this is such an American thing, you know?
And dude, I'm telling you, you'll laugh your ass off. Look up fucking, I think his name is Jesse Duplantier or Jesse do something. But it's like just look up Christian private jet and you'll see it. And then there's like another thing where this dude's getting grilled by a judge because like he has like millions of like $1 million home, he's like expensive cars, and he's using all this donation money to fucking take vacations and shit. Like it's fucking wild.
I just looked this up. The first thing that comes up, it says 10 American pastors with private jet.
Yes,
Quote,
that's the one. Yeah.
quote, it's what Jesus would do.
Yes, I'm serious. They preach this like narrative that Jesus would live the fucking baller lifestyle. Like he'd come in like a fucking Persian with a white suit and sunglasses and fucking in a goddamn Mercedes or something. Like it's really strange.
Like, yeah, because it's like the whole point of Jesus is that like he is the king because he didn't come to be served. He came. Well, no, sorry, no. He didn't come to be served. He came to serve us. You know.
Yeah.
Right, and like this just it's I don't know how you could be so far from that understanding. And why he always dressed in like he was so dirt poor and he just dressed in like rags, and that's like when he was presented to Pontius Pilate, the Jew like when the Jews and like the Pharisees, they're like, this man is like evil. He's like gonna completely like ruin everything for us. And then Pontius Pilate like sees Jesus, like this poor man in rags. He's like, this is the guy that you're saying is claiming to be the king of the Jews? Like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a total fucking bastardization, and it's purely political now, and it's just like, fuck.
Yeah, man.
I'm just glad I wasn't raised
Consumerism.
like that.
I know, man.
I'm
Me
really
too.
fucking glad.
Yeah, no, I really am too.
But it's interesting because like it's not even like that's like a mindset that everybody has, no matter what fucking religion or lack thereof. Like everybody has that mindset that they want need their 15 seconds of fame, or that they deserve just like fucking fame or financial success or all that shit. It's like they've been promised this fake lie that if you work hard enough you can achieve anything. Like it's
right.
just it's very fucking American.
That that's a load of bullshit. I mean, you
Yeah.
both know that. But
Yeah, no, it's obvious that you have to get A, fucking really lucky, or A, just have ungodly talent, or you know people. Like, there's a bunch of other shit that you have to fucking do, and you can't just be ambitious.
right. And like you can, but I mean, like you said, it can only get you so far.
And it
And
gives you more misery in the long run. Like, that life isn't even
right,
funny after
it,
fucking, like, 10 years. If you're not
right,
overdosed on some bullshit or fucking kill yourself, like, fuck.
right. But a lot of it, I think, just stems from like people just like don't really know what it is that like because people don't really have a purpose anymore, and we don't really understand why it is that we're here. And there's no like meaning to life anymore. So it's like yes, because like there's like that's not it. Like family and like long term like relationships and stuff like that. That's not it. So it's like I need something else. So that's why like yeah, I just want a bunch of money not to invest in my family, but to invest in like the cool car, the cool house, and all these stuff that are part of this world that is like passing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people
No
like just
purpose.
right because they just see other people in that stuff and they're like, oh, if I was in that position, then I'd be happy. And I'm guilty of that too. Because like when I see the higher up people in my job, or I see the people in the jobs next door, in like the like our neighbors that are working on their marble thingy, it looks badass. I think like, oh, if I was in that position, then I'd be happy. It's like no, I mean, you can be happy in any position you are. I'm not saying like I don't want to necessarily like branch out, do something different, but just to think like, oh, I'm being held back just because of like the position I am in, you know, and I'm not in these better positions that these other people are.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to distinguish because, like, you have, I mean, it's just, it's just objectively things are just innately good or they're not. So it's like you can have the mindset of, oh, I want to achieve more success, and you can have ambition and you can climb as high as you're physically able to go, or if you're lucky enough to go, and you have to find that place to be content. That's fine. If you want to be fucking successful, sure, but if you're going to be fucking miserable if you don't have it, then it's a problem. Like, it just depends on how you see it. But I just think it's just retarded that we've just been fed this lie that that's the fucking antithesis of everything, and that's what we have to strive for every single person on the planet, contentively knowing that that's not going to fucking happen to like a quarter of the population in
Right.
this country. So it's like the same shit with the lottery, right? So it's like people play the lottery so much it got to like 1.28 billion, right? And one fucking dude won it, and the government took like almost all of it.
Well, right, because it's like that's like literally the population of like India.
Yeah. Like it's crazy the amount of people that don't realize that like how they're not gonna fucking win it. And people are like, oh, but it's that one guy. It's like, yeah, but statistically you're gonna play your whole life and never win it. So,
Yeah, because
and
it's
you're
like
not that guy. You're not gonna be that guy. And that guy that
right,
did win it is hiding from all his fucking. They hire lawyers to fucking be anonymous because now their life will be ruined if people find out about it. Like it's just a dangerous game we play.
right, and it's also like these people that like win the lottery and like yes, you do get a shit ton of money even after all of the taxes by the government, but like it just you just get sent money every week for doing nothing. Like there is like, and I know like I haven't really heard about this, but I can assume that there's probably just kind of like this guilt that comes with that. Like, yeah, I didn't really do anything. Yeah, I'm just getting money for like no reason.
Which is where you turn to like fucking, hey, I should probably put this towards something that makes a difference or actually construct something good. Not just
But that's
giving it away
true.
to
But
fucking charity because that doesn't really do anything. But
Right, but don't like most people that like win the lottery just like become poor again?
Yeah, because they're
Because
bad
like
with money.
right, because don't they just spend it on like hookers and like drugs and shit?
What would you
Which
do
is
for real
very
money? Bunch of hookers and cocaine.
yeah, that shit. I was thinking about the bunch of hookers and then
No, it's because
the
people are fucking bad with money, especially if they're poor and they win it. Fuck, or it's like
well, yeah,
that's why
because
celebrity. I watched this one fucking thing like the stupid bitch from fucking Euphoria. She's talking about how she can't afford her lifestyle anymore because like she fucking went on a hit show, got a lot of money, and then bought something without the realization, hey, maybe I should keep doing this or make sure I have a longevity to my career before I, try to buy $1 million fucking house and expensive cars and expensive food, and then act like, oh, we don't get paid enough. Like,
yeah.
like people are just bad with money. Like athletes like that, they'll blow on it or they'll get some bitch pregnant, then have to like give their millions of dollars every year. Like it's just dumb shit that people don't know how to handle.
But also like there's just so much funny shit you can find of like people just doing stupid shit with their money.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've ever seen the list of purchases that Nick Cage has made and how much like money he owes to the IRS.
Yeah.
Like have you seen the shit he's bought?
No, but I'm sure it's ridiculous.
He has spent like all this money on like all these different houses and all these locations. He also spent like $1 million to buy the first Superman comic, like the original copy, and then he spent like all this money to like have his grave already like made for whenever he's like dying and he's dead, so it's ready. He also bought like the that mansion in New Orleans, that's like in American Horror Story, like the upstairs room, like it's really creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought that, and then he bought so much shit, and he's just like he's in so much debt to the IRS, and that's why you see him now. Like he's in all of these like random shitty movies, like you don't know what they are because like he has to take like every offer he's given to like exactly. I don't know if you do that, but like when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's why Nick Cage is in all these shitty movies.
Yeah, these people are. I mean, you give regular people millions of dollars and nowhere to fucking teach you to how to use it. It's gonna happen. And it's also, I don't know where this parallels, but it's the same reason why a lot of celebrities go to jail for tax evasion. Like Wesley Snipes, Martha Stewart, now Shakira. It's just fucking funny.
Oh, Shakira did it too.
Yeah, I don't know if she's gonna get. I think she's getting jail time, which is funny because like if they just knew the right fucking Jews to help them out, because like companies literally pay people to get them fucking tax breaks and tax incentives to pay less taxes than a lot of other people. So it's like they literally could have just had a phone call because it's a circle jerk. So it's like, hey, my fucking friend knows this dude that can help you, not pay as much taxes as opposed to not paying them at all. It's like, oh, I have millions of dollars. I don't give a fuck. Like, sorry.
Yeah, well, when you look at the Jews, that's how you know how to deal with your money because they were very good with money.
Yeah, and like it's a stereotype for a reason. Like go fucking find some and make you not go to jail.
Right. Well, not like the yeah, because like it's just more the idea that like it's not like Jews love money because I hate that. It's really it's racist, but it's like because people when they say that I know you don't like you understand this, but like when people say like oh Jews are just a bunch of rich assholes, it's like well they're rich because like they know how to deal with money and they know how to invest in money and also like
it's part of their culture. It's like why are Asians good at math is because they have the fucking discipline. Their parents fucking make them do it. I mean,
well,
it's
right,
the same thing with
and
Mormons,
also
like,
yeah, and like also like
very prominent people. Like you have to like it's a stereotype because I mean obviously you can look at that as many different ways, but like why are so many Jewish people like bankers? Why are there so many like agents or lawyers, right? Because I don't know, because it's a community that sticks together, so it's like family members, no family members that are like that, and that just grows over time, and that just becomes the staple of your community. Like I don't know.
a lot of that a lot of that was actually because like those were some of the only jobs that Jews were allowed to do because there was a bunch of stuff that like Jews weren't allowed to do in Europe. But another thing I was going to mention
historical context to that.
Right, exactly, and a lot of people don't really think about that, but also another thing people don't take into account is the fact that like their expenses are very low, you know, because like they don't need all of this like shit that you don't need. um, I mean, yeah, you see them with nice suits, but it's like you don't see them with like all these nice cars because they walk to, they walk to synagogue. Like their expenses are very very low compared to like other like groups on average.
It's just the value of the group and how much fucking numbers expand when you multiply them. So it's like if you have a church or a synagogue full of people that do that, and that just keeps growing and growing. So it's like I said, you fucking know people that do that. So then you're around people that are becoming those things, and you want to be those things. So it gets you an easier time to be those things, and it just keeps growing and growing. And there you go. There's a whole community. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's actually why they live so close to each other is because they need to walk to synagogue.
it's communal. It's like most people. I don't get why people don't understand that. So it's like what
Yeah,
are
but
these
also
the
like
stereotypes? Because like there's a group of people that live close to each other that act and do the same things.
right. Well, that's why I'm
What the
also like
fuck?
I don't like when people are like, oh, like why do like quote unquote they all live in that area? I'm like, I don't know, because like they have more in common. Like who
Why
gives a
is there
fuck?
a Chinatown or a Koreatown or a Filipino town? Like, because they're fucking communal. They fucking like each other. That's why they're in the same
Yeah,
spot. Why the fuck would they
like
be far away from each other?
right. It's like this random like dude from Chinatown is probably gonna have more in common with another Chinese person than some average Joe like beer drinking American.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Like, yeah. Oh, dude, it's late. Shit.
Oh, damn.
Yep. Well, I don't need to wake up at 4 tomorrow, but I need to wake up at 5.
Well, I feel like, man, I didn't even feel like this was 3 hours.
Yeah, no, I like I didn't know how long this one was gonna be, but I feel like we just like always find shit to talk about. This was so cool.
Oh, that was a good one. I like this one. I like when we have discourse as opposed
You
to
know,
just
but
random bullshit.
right, but I also like it when I can put a good thumbnail because in this one I know I can be like um Jewish music, abstract science, and then like into like further
You should
religion.
you should get like a picture of like a big jet with like a cross on it and have like Jesus shooting it down with a laser beam. That'd be a great thumbnail.
That'd be great. Jesus would be like, yeah, don't you dare.
Can you please do that? That'd be fucking great.
Does that exist, or like, do I need to make that?
You probably gotta make it, but think about it, like a fucking private jet with a gold cross and then Jesus like laser eyeing it down. That'd be fucking really funny.
Yeah, or like you see, like when people like deep fry the other people's eyes, like in a
Yeah,
picture, it's like
exactly.
Jesus has like the glowing eyes, like, and he has his little, the hand thing he does to signify the Trinity.
Yeah.
It's like that, and you see him doing it like in movies when he's performing the exorcism. He's like, yeah, be gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Fucking make it happen, Captain.
I actually yeah, I'm gonna do that. Oh man, that's my project. That's my next project.
Good luck to you, sir.
Yep. I also got another podcast coming up with a new guest.
We have to do a multi-way one.
Oh
Conference
yes,
call
we
it up.
do. We do, but with whom is the question?
Gives no fucks, mate.
Yeah. Well, I know Matt's not gonna do it, but is he still pissed at me from the Mexican
No, but it
food?
was really fucking funny. Dude, I totally forgot. So for context, every time Will comes into our store, he's not allowed to eat. I don't know why. I honestly think it's like a joke that Matt's taking too far. I suspect he doesn't actually care. He just likes fucking with you, but then I think it does bother him. I have no idea why. Anyways, like,
Specifically the Mexican food, because like he had pizza there one time. He's like, "Hey, you want a slice?"
and we've had that food in here. I just don't know what his deal is. Anyway,
Right.
so the
Right.
running joke is that he can't eat food in our store, and so he wasn't here one day, and so Will's like, sweet, I can eat in here. So he goes to get food, takes forever. I fucking forget about it. Matt comes back, and then I just didn't think anything of it, and then I saw you walking in, and then your face as he walked in as he saw you, and he's like, nope.
He's like out.
Oh, it was so funny. I totally fucking forgot that's what you were doing.
Yeah, and then I just like went home. I was like, "Fuck, man."
Oh shit, that was fucking funny.
Yeah, but
Anyways,
anyways, yeah, this was a good one, man.
I concur.
Dude, I actually have I have some more stuff to tell you. For like whenever I go there, probably on Saturday. But like, I can't say it on the podcast, and I'll
You
explain.
fucker.
No, I'll explain why. Like, I legitimately, I don't think it would be a good idea.
I think I have a couple guesses.
It's not about that thing.
Uh,
Yeah, it's not about that.
you almost had a cool thumbnail, Will.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I'm dying to hear it because I'm going to be alone this week.
Oh, sweet.
So eat food to your heart's content.
Nice. All right. Well, this was good, everybody. Good night.
Good night. I'm trying to stretch it out to 3 hours. We got 50
Wait, 3
seconds.
Okay, we got to talk about some random bullshit. Oh, I could just start reciting Dante. Have I ever done that to you?
It's too late for this.
Per me si va nelle città dolente, per me si va nell'eterno dolore, per me si va tra la perduta gente. Giustizia mossa il mio alto fattore, fecemi la divina podestate, la somma sapienza, il primo amore. Dinanzi a me non for cose create se non eterne, e io, eterno duro, lasciate ogni speranza, voi che entrate. Queste parole di colore oscuro vidi il scritto al sumo di una porta, perché maestro, il senso l'orme è duro, ed egli a me, come persona accorta, qui si conviene lasciare ogni sospetto, ogni viltà come che qui sia morta. Noi siamo venuti a loco, vi t'ho detto, che tu vedrai la gente dolorose, che hanno perduto il ben dell'intelletto, poiché la sua mano la mia pose, con lieto volto mi confortai, mi mise dentro le segrete cose. Quivi sospiri, pianti alti guai, risonnavan per l'aere senza stelle, perch'io, a cominciare ne lagrimai.
Mussolini, fettuccine, babadaboopy.
Oh, that's like one of my favorite shit in Family Guy. When they like walk into the Italian meat store, and then Peter's like, "Wait, Brian, I got this." Ray's like, "I've waited my whole life for this."
I've heard this before.
He's like, puts on the mustache, and he's like,
I've heard this before.
but it's fucking hilarious.
I've heard this before.
But I need to explain it to the people that don't know it.
I've heard this before.
And he's like, a boppity bippity boop. And he's like, Peter, just because you say boppity bippity boop and put on a mustache doesn't mean that you can speak Italian. And then the other, yeah, well, and the other guy just like starts actually speaking in Italian, and like they understand each other. It's great, but we have to go to bed.
Go to fucking bed, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I gotta go to bed, man.
Jesus of de Cristo.
Yes, sir. Go to bed, please.
Good night.
Good night, man. Bye.